Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Call of Cthulhu Learn by Play one-shot. For the fourth chapter of Occult Origins, we shall be playing Unbound Publishing's Robinson Gruesome, from their collection of scenarios, Monophobia. I'm your keeper of arcane lore, Grinning Moon, and with me today is Meggalox.
Yo, what's happening?
So if you want to be so kind, would you introduce yourself and your character to our audience?
Yeah, so I'm Meggalox, a variety streamer. I've been on a bit of a hiatus lately, but love exploring different games, having a good fun, banter, being part of an amazing community, part of which I consider Grinning Moon to be a part of. And yeah, sometimes when we get the chance, I like to jump into a little bit of RP sessions. Grinning Moon and I have been working on setting this up for a while. I've created the character Morgan, or Indewo, but known, more commonly as Morgan, a sailor, a bit of a survivor, a bit of a smuggler, who moved from Nigeria to the UK in search of a better life. Ended up getting caught up in the war effort. Things have gone a little bit south, and we found ourselves in a bit of a situation, and I'm looking forward to exploring that with everybody in the one shot.
Excellent. Thank you. So yes, to kind of set the stage here, the year is 1916. The Great War is raging on in an ever-escalating arms race. The Allies and Central Powers have poured men into the gears of war by the thousands. The demand for troops has grown to a height that the draft has been instated in the UK and all of her colonies. In the African colonies in particular, those who complied with the draft were traditionally stationed around their home borders, but those who were deemed uncooperative were exiled to remote work camps in the South Pacific. Our story begins in one of these work camps, located a few hundred miles north of Fuji. Now, of course, this is tropical paradise in most scenarios, but as we pan onto this scene in particular, we find the scene barbed wire strings across posts tightly that are flanked by watchtowers. Inside the camp itself, dozens of shacks-like barracks are lined up like tombstones, and linger still and silent in the humid tropical mist. Inside one of these shacks, where interred men sleep shoulder to shoulder and the pungent smell of unwashed matches is inescapable, 4 of the beds lay empty. Beneath the floorboards, amidst the supports and foundations, a hand-dug hole can be found. Inside, we find 4 men crawling on their bellies through a muddy tunnel towards potential freedom. Here's where we pick up on, kind of zoom in on Morgan in a very dark tunnel, illuminated by a single candle at the forefront. Go ahead and tell me where you are in this tunnel, what's going through your mind, and kind of a short description of Morgan in Indewo. As it were.
I feel like it's horrible in there. The humidity's built up, and humidity is my worst kind of temperature. We're sweating. Is there enough water? We're cheek to cheek, but we're pushing through. There's an opportunity here, and I'm looking to take the most of it. Using whatever tools avail me to push the work forward, and hoping that, my effort is inspiring the effort of others. We've only got a limited amount of time, and that's playing on my mind. It's sweat. It's work. It's grimy.
And as buckets of dirt and mud are being passed back to you to dump.
And I feel like we're having trouble with it. There's a bit of seepage in there. I feel like there's, we're worried about water building up in the tunnel.
Yeah, so as you kind of splash around in it, it's kind of weighs on you because there's not really enough room to sit down here. There's only really enough room to lay down. So you're constantly having to keep yourself up out of the mud. Some people kind of like, you hear the splutter of mud occasionally as their arms begin to some of their arms begin to shake from the very poor diet they've had, but the work continues. And it seems like maybe an hour of this before an excited murmur from the front. Oh, I think I see something. I think we're breaking through. And there's a certain mutter in the crowd of men here, a small crowd. One's like, "Can't wait to taste some whiskey." whiskey, can't taste a woman. And, like, just a couple of different murmurs of excitement and nervousness. It's like, we still got to make it through the beach. It's like, and just all this kind of...
I said something like, push harder. The light's just ahead. We only have until the dawn. Come on, guys, focus.
He's right. All right. And one of the Finneaker men at the back, who's always taking the back and just kind of dumping buckets, handing them back, like, has been antsy. He's been a little quieter, and you've seen him just kind of bounce in the half light flickering in between the bodies of the other men in the silhouettes. As you say, okay, I think I can push through to the shoulder. Everybody clamber up as quickly as possible. We need as quickly and quietly as we can. All right. Connor? Oi. You're going to be right behind me. And Indewo, you right behind him, and then help out Hans there. Olaf. Hans, whatever. And the guy kind of like positions himself with his back against the top of the roof of the tunnel. He's like, on 3. 1, 2, 3. And with a kind of a squelch and a bit of crumbling, the dirt sputters up and crumbles around her, and a bit of moonlight and jungle sound pours in through the as he kind of clambers up, reaches down, helps up Connor and him help up you, and then all three of you help out the finicky German. As spotlights kind of pan across the bushes and the floor around you, you begin to clamber to your feet around the hole. One light kind of pans right over you. Go ahead and roll me a stealth roll. A 13. We'll take the roll. So normally, how we're going to do that is actually in your character sheet.
Right. Okay.
13's amazing, so we're going to keep that roll.
But I did use it was a D100 we're supposed to use, right?
Yep, you're right. You did everything more or less right. But the character sheet automates it. So next time you'll do that, you'll just go into your character sheet, and there'll be actually in your investigator skills a stealth spot. You'll roll the green dice on that, and if you would like to try that right now, just kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. Stealth.
Throw that on there. Boom. So you rolled a 13 on that stealth roll, and that nailed it. That was actually a hard success, because it got below your 25 threshold. So with that, as the light pans across, it catches one German just kind of standing out, crouched. The other two and yourself have dove for bushes and kind of end up in the silhouette. Connor pulls him down just a little bit too late out of the light, and you hear say, "What?" A couple, "Hey, what was that?" And you hear a bell begin to go off.
Quickly, voice is low. We need to move. They're onto us. I thought we'd have much time, but they've already discovered the tunnel. Let's go.
Shit, we gotta get... And before you even can say that, the leaner Ellis has already skirted off, taking off in between bushes towards the shore. And the crack of gunshots begins to peel out into the night.
Pure panic. I feel like I veer a little bit to the left to spread out so we're not an easy target. You know, there's leaves slapping in my face. I'm trying not to make too much sound by stumbling through the bushes, but visibility's poor. I'm definitely trying not to trip. And I'm just hoping that a vision of the shore comes up soon.
As you kind of palm leaves and whatnot slap into your face, and the moisture from it just soaks into what was left of your what was somehow left of your dry clothes, and also like slightly washing off some of that mud that you had just been swimming in. Go ahead and give me a dex check as you begin to hear dogs bark. closely encroaching.
Alright, so I believe I rolled 95 on my dex, is that right?
Yes, that is correct. That is a fail. So as you kind of flip through, you get slowed down through the brush a little bit, and near the end, you begin to see the light flickering off the waves on the shore, and the dock with the white plane kind of bobbing slightly. And just as you kind of go to kind of jump one of the bushes to kind of clear your way onto the beach, it snags onto your ankle. A branch snags onto your ankle, and you flop onto your face as the dogs approach. From out onto the beach ahead of you, you see the coward Ellis kind of bolting for it, get shot by the rifles, and just fall to the beach down and begin to writhe in pain. Connor behind you overtakes your position, clearing the bush as a dog barrels out of the bushes and begins to set on you, grabbing onto your leg. Go ahead and roll me either a dex to dodge or a strength to fight it off.
Oh, we're definitely dodging.
Fair enough.
It's in. 25 seems to indicate
As it
success.
as it comes in to bite, it catches a bit of your pant leg, but you are able to pull your leg away so it grabs only cloth, ripping away the already kind of thin fabric that's there, and you begin to scramble away as Connor grabs a branch of driftwood and just whacks the dog away from you. It gives you a second to get up, scramble to your feet, and with him, you begin to clamber back to the plane. At this point, the plane is already humming up into speed as the German kind of stumbles out of the bushes behind you a few yards back. As you continue to run across the sand, bullets ping off the sand, and you hear Elias grumble something as you pass his slumped-over body. You hear the dogs latch on to Olaf behind you as you make your way onto the plane, bullets pinging off the fuselage. As you make it to the plane, you hop over to the side. You hear "Kuso, kuso, kuso," and the door flings open as Connor hops in, lending you a hand to pull you in as the plane takes off, skitters across the water, and begins to take off. As you take stock, you realize that this plane probably would have never fit 5 people, at least not comfortably. But there's plenty of rations and like a couple extra cases of like food and definitely a med kit and a couple other things. The Japanese man pilot, he turns back and is like, "This is a close call." And like as he begins to gain altitude away from the away from the base and the work camp. Once you're in safety, what's going through Morgan or Indewo's mind?
This is no time to stand on ceremony. I'm breathing hard, I'm wet and soaked. The adrenaline is beginning to wear off, replaced with exhaustion. But I'm looking at the rations hungrily. Not one to wait until the opportunity presents itself. I reach over, and start to help myself. Normally, I might handle things a little bit differently, but this isn't normal times. It's been a harrowing experience. People have fallen on the beach. I feel bite marks near my ankle. I'm really glad to just barely have survived. I'm tucking into the rations, leaning back and just hoping that the pilot now does his part and gets us to safety.
As Connor kind of sees you kind of go in like unceremoniously, he's like, Well, fuck it, yeah, why not? And he pulls like a couple crackers and a bit of hardtack. But this tastes like shite, but it's better than what they had. He kind of takes the side of his teeth and breaks off a piece of hardtack before trying to gnash it a little bit, swallowing it hard. Like, well, yeah, help yourself. I had enough for 4. Now the 2.
How long until we reach our destination?
He kind of just like looks at you odd. Say, well, Salon. He just nods at you, and goes back to piloting. The pilot himself has a little toothbrush mustache and is just seems more or less like he not completely unbothered, but like doing the best to accommodate with what little English he has. Help yourself. Water back there.
I think overcome by the situation after I've tucked into rations and drank water, I know the value of resting after everything that we've been through. The adrenaline starts leaving my system, replaced by exhaustion. I literally do my best to make myself comfortable in the cramped confines, grab anything I can to cover myself with, and try and close my eyes.
Connor kind of clambers up to the front and begins kind of looking out the window. Hey, Morgan, have you ever been this way? I don't think I have.
Once, brother, when I was leaving my homeland to go to Britain, we went by plane to an airport where we embarked on a ship to take us. And during the plane ride from Calabar to Calabar, I was high for the time, but really I like to focus on what's needed. And as much as this is a rare experience, rest, my friend, because who knows what awaits us, eh?
That's fair enough. You got any shine or like whiskey or anything? He kind of turns to the pilot, and pilot kind of like looks at him strangely. He's like, "Oh." He points to like underneath there's a little wooden box tucked underneath the co-pilot's like where the pedals are, and he opens it up and it's like sake. It's like, oh, don't mind if I do. And he begins treating himself as you kind of try to remain alert, but just relax, and your eyes finally close, and the hum of the ship kind of helps you drift off to sleep. I'm not sure why the jungle song is still playing. So yes, as things, few hours pass, but for Indewo it's instant, as the plane begins to gain turbulence and shake as around you a large storm apparently has formed. And the pilot begins, I thought we'd beat it. We're forced to land. Plane can't handle. And as Connor's like, well, we can't land in a port or anything. They want a man. He's like, plenty of abandoned island. Find someone on charge. He hands like the maps over to Connor, and he just looks at them stupidly for a second before attempting to dig in. As the plane kind of jostles with the wind, and he, in the flash of one of the lightning, he sees a small atoll off to the side and begins to descend. We land there. Take off in morning. And as you kind of descend, this is kind of what Indewo sees as he looks out the window. Not the maps. Not that. There we go. And kind of looking in, you see a atoll that kind of has a small barrier reef around it that creates a lagoon with a small island, maybe a mile or two across. Not hugely big, but definitely was volcanic in structure and has a bit of a hill at the top. And as you kind of glide in, the wind shaking the fuselage of the plane, he's able to come to a land in the somewhat choppy waters of the lagoon. Luckily, with the barrier reef causing most of the tossle of this ocean to be quelled, it's relatively calm in comparison. As you...
Connor, grab rations, my friend. Make sure you don't leave any food behind. It'll be important.
Yeah. He kind of snuffs out of it, and like he was kind of in a little bit of a sewer. Yep. You're right there, Indewo. I just need a little bit. He kind of opens up the door and like lets the rain, tropical rain, splash him in the face for like literally half a second. Comes in, his face is so fully drenched. That should help. Clambers in the back and begins kind of packing things up and bundling them as best he can.
And Connor, don't forget the sake, eh?
About that. And like the pilot turns and he's just kind of, you see the pilot is definitely buzzed. And the bottle is sitting and there's just like the littlest sip left. Sorry, you can have last. He hands you a bottle.
I'm not proud. I'll grab it, take a quick swig, just down what's left.
And with your tolerance the way it is, it actually hits pretty hard. It warms the core, as it were. So as you begin kind of packing up, he's like, "Oh, no." He turns around, he's like, "We wait out storm here. Island can be dangerous in storm. We might forage for food in morning when things calm down, but best to tuck in."
Just looking around, there's no trees or shade. We're sheltering under the plane itself.
The plane itself is a float plane, so it lands in the water.
Good.
So it's just kind of floating in the lagoon of this atoll. The island kind of looming over in the distance. And after a while, the thunder kind of stops down and the rain begins to maybe not stop, but ease up. At which point the sun is just starting to rise, and the hot sky is painted a very bright blue, creating enough light to work in kind of a half light in the early morning. You're able to get a little bit more. You're not really able to get any more sleep, just due to the tossling. But when it's time to move, the pilot says, "I never introduced myself." He kind of holds out a hand to shake, and "Hello, Sakamura."
Indewo, my friend, but you may call me Morgan. Clasp his hand in a firm handshake.
Oh,
Thank you for getting us out of that hellhole.
absolutely. No man behind bars.
I Agreed, my friend. Agreed.
But be careful out on float. Very slippery. And he pops the door open and kind of clambers out. And kind of pops the engine open and just checks over things to make sure everything's good, as Connor also kind of clambers out. He kind of is finally able to stand up and stretch. You hear his kind of back and shoulders pop as he stretches up to the sky and looks over. He's like, "What do you reckon's on that island there, Morgan?"
Hopefully a place to shelter. A place to get out of this rain. I hate rain and humidity. Let us take a look, my friend.
Yeah, sounds good. And the pilot kind of looks over. He's like, well, is still looking over the engine as Connor kind of like, nothing to it but to do it, I suppose, and just hops into the bay. It's fairly clear water, despite it, but the ripples of the raindrops kind of obscures what's going on below the surface a little bit. And he begins to kind of splash out. As he dives into the water, the pilot kind of rounds. He's like, "You going on the island?" Like, "Well, what else are we going to do?" He kind of goes into a backstroke a little bit, kind of getting comfortable. He's like, the pilot kind of, "Oh, no, get out of the water. We don't go on island unless we need to." And he's just like, "Oh, don't be afraid there." Kind of swimming a little bit. And the pilot slams his wrench down on the fuselage to make a pong. "Get back on plane. Now." The Connor kind of like looks at it, furrows his brow a little bit, and kind of like begins to swim back over. And at that moment, you can go ahead and roll me a listen check.
Right. Die favor me today. So far. Don't turn on me, die.
Extreme listen check. Beneath all this rain and that low filter of sound around you, it's kind of hard to tell. But you definitely hear something underneath you. Like, you feel a little bit of a movement underneath you with the plane that wasn't with a wave, and that kind of tunes you into a bit of a swirling sound underneath the water.
I think my impulse to this is extreme caution. You know, I've heard what the pilots have said. I feel the need to stay on the plane. It's probably the safest place.
Okay. So you stay in the plane?
I'm gonna change my mind. I'd call out to Connor. Connor, perhaps we should listen to the pilots. Let's stay in the plane. It's probably safer than the island, my friend.
I'm coming. He's kind of like still a couple yards out and swimming back. Just hold your horses. I ain't going no... He just stops mid-sentence. And there's a... Looking out...
Disappear visually?
You could see his red, curly hair on the surface, and then that's just now black.
Connor! Yeah, I turned to the pilot and you know, pilot, can we move the plane? Take us over to Connor and let's get away from here.
Paddle and back. Don't work that way. Paddle. And you look up, and on one of the walls is mounted just a normal paddle. for those purposes of getting a few yards. It would take a second to turn on the plane. You know it would take a second to turn on the plane, and it couldn't really get that range of motion. It's not a boat. So yes.
Point, I think I'm feeling trapped. The plane needs to move, but I mean, we need to make a move. I don't feel safe on the plane. I'm not confident in our ability to make it to the island. And I know it would be unwise to go for Connor. Is the boat still in the water?
There is no boat. This is a float plane. So it's sitting on the two floats, and it's the a prop plane kind of on top of that.
Yeah. All right. I think you know. I love you, Connor, but realism. I've seen people die tonight. No, Connor's not replied. I closed the. I'm not too familiar with the type of plane, but like if I can batten down the hatches, close the doors.
The hero closes the engine case and kind of clambers back into the cockpit as well with you, and
Nice.
he turns on the plane. And he's like, "We go to shore. I can't take off in this."
I'm looking around for anything I can use as a weapon. Do we have any options on the plane? Like anything that gives me a feeling that if we do fall in the water, I can fend something off with more than just my bare fist.
Sure. You can look around. Go ahead and give me a spot hidden. There'll be a couple things you'll see right away, but see what else you can see. Holy shit. Holy shit, these rolls. Holy shit. I hit the wrong button. So yes, as you kind of look around, you see a flare gun. You see the ore itself. You see a survival kit, which has, a typical knife in there. And then you also see it's kind of well hidden because the shirt... I never really described Hero's outfit. He's wearing a kind of a loose button down that's a little too baggy for him. And you can see just on his hip, just the crease of a gun. So you know he has a gun on it.
Wait, sorry. Tell me who has the gun again?
Hero. The pilot.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, it looks like we're hunkering down. I'll reach for the flare gun and survival kit. Look at the pilot and say, "For safety, friend, for safety, just in case."
He just kind of like nervously looks at you. What about your friend?
My friend, he'll either make it or he won't. If he knocks, we let him in. Otherwise, our best course of action is to wait.
As the plane begins to sputter up and move forward, there is scratching.
All right, let's grab the flare gun and fling the door open in the hopes that the scratching is Connor in some way or form. We still haven't given up hope. We just aren't going to throw ourselves in the water going after him.
As you open up the door, you hear "Help!" and it's Connor on the float plane, just grabbing onto the floats. But you see behind him, he's stringing back a trail of crimson.
I'm
And he
reaching
looks
for
very
him.
pale.
Let's grab him. Let's try and get him on board. We'll do what we can. If there's a way that I can, hold on to the plane, grab Connor, and sort of attempt to haul him in.
Yeah, absolutely. Grabbing a secure hand on the plane, you reach out for him and you grab onto his wrist, his extended hand. Go ahead and roll me a strength. Damn. Okay. Just getting all the good rolls out of the way now. So as he reaches out and is, you see a panic in his eyes as you pull, and all that happens is he moves a little bit out of the water, and you see something latched onto him. Claws digging into his ribcage. And as you're pulling, you're able to pull just enough to emerge the fish-like scales of something holding on to it. Go ahead and roll me a sanity check. So you'll lose 1 sanity as you realize this thing has arms that are reaching out and grabbing him and digging into him. And these things aren't anything you've seen before. And as you kind of pull, the plane picks up speed and he slips out of your grip, screaming, yelping for a split second before disappearing into the water behind you.
Sorry, my friend.
As this happens, you feel the fuselage tip to the opposite side, as it feels like something just jumped on.
With the loss of Connor, I'm literally going back in the plane and slamming the door shut. You know, I'm trusting in the fact that we're taking to the skies to deter whatever I felt jump on, but the heroics end there. Connor didn't make it. You know, it crosses my mind, a moment of mourning, and now I'm trusting in the skills of the pilot to get us out of here.
The pilot begins to attempt to pull up as another thing clambers onto the other side. And he's like, too much weight! Have to go to island. Can't pull up. And as he's banking, he was trying to get enough speed to pull over the beach, as his turning radius is a little compromised due to wind, and just too many parameters are working against him. So rather than crash, he de-throttles and pulls into the beach. As this happens, you feel two more things clamber on. One of them falls off as he kind of drifts a little bit with the turn and the turning his pulling the stick real hard, and the plane swings violently towards quickly towards the beach, with waves pressing it on into it. Holy chance! Brace yourself! As he you see him tense up as you come in. There is a great, large throughout the fuselage as everything lurches forward. You smack into the dashboard, feeling like you broke your nose almost, definitely bruising your eye. He presses forward, and you see him kind of lurch forward as well. That he was a little bit more braced on the wheel as you kind of come to a stop on the beach. Waves kind of slowly rolling in.
I think it's pure panic. I'm in pure panic. It's survival mode. Is the plane we've crashed? Is the plane still sputtering around?
The plane has basically beached itself with the floats onto the beach itself. You don't know what damage has been done to those floats, but it's still upright. And the propellers are still going. It just doesn't have any traction.
Turns off.
Pilot? He's just white knuckled on the wheel.
Grab what you can.
Did you hear them?
Move, my friend. I think I'll grab the survival kit. I'll fumble around for anything else. You know, hopefully locating the flare gun, which I would have dropped. And a ration or two, and then it's all about leaving the plane, jumping out and fleeing the plane. If I don't have a bag to carry, I'll take my top off, wrap up what stuff I can, and attempt to exit the vehicle.
Okay. With that in mind, Beached, he remains kind of stunned there for a second. You move into action and immediately begin packing things up rapidly, heart pounding, waiting for those things that are on the side of your ship to begin clambering down the door. And moments pass. Those moments turn into a minute. That minute turns into 2, and slowly you realize that there's nothing on the side of your ship anymore. At least they're not making any noise. After you finish packing, Hero kind of like has finally let go of the steering wheel and kind of is just looking out the windows. What were they? They're gone. He kind of like tentatively opens up a door, just like the tiniest crack, just so he can see. He's like, I don't see anything. As you kind of collect your things, you can check in your journal. There should be a new item. Items from the plane.
Where is my journal?
Journal will be on the chat window on that chat bar. There's that little same place you'll find your character sheet. I don't know exactly what it looks like on your side, so it should be.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Journal
Yeah.
items from the plane.
There you go.
Get in.
There you go. So in that, you will find seat cushions, flotation devices that can be used as flotation devices. First aid kit with water for purification tablets, scissors, and various other medical supplies. Flare pistol with 6 extra flares, and a toolbox with screwdrivers, wrench, tenon, saw, etc. So, stuff for basic repairs and rudimentary fabrication. So yes, as you kind of clamber out of the plane, the rain kind of is still going, but it's more of a mist now, as the around you, the morning, tropical morning kind of begins like nothing ever happened. And as the sun kind of rises and the rain dissipates, you're left in a very idyllic and very beautiful beach. The one thing that you notice right away on this beach is that there is various poles, totem poles, jettisoning out of the beach around the perimeter, seemingly roughly about 30 yards apart each. As you kind of look in, the center of the island is covered in brush and kind of tropical jungle. And there is a bit of a volcanic formation that creates a bit of a small mountaintop, but it's not, I call it a mountaintop, but it's a very gentle sloping kind of hill on the way up there with a dead crater. And you see some volcanic rock formations kind of flanking the hill.
A formidable place to be sure. I think I've turned to the pilot, I don't think we're alone on this island. Let us check the status of the plane. We find ourselves in a pretty dire situation, my friend. And then let's give the plane a once over. If there, two things on my mind. One, any trace of what attacked us the night before, and 2, the damage to the plane, and how bad is it, and is there anything we can do about it to get airborne again?
Okay. So the way I like to do things is I like to always give you information and then add a check to give you more information. So base information, looking at the plane. You see scratch marks on the back of the fuselage, like dozens. The window, in particular, are particularly scratched, and they are claws of 4. They raked into the fuselage just a little bit, but it's mostly cosmetic damage. The big damage is on the floats. The floats have more or less been completely breached due to the coming in to the sand barge, and also some of the metal framing that holds the floats to the plane has bent. So that means that it won't float, and that even if it did float, it would be off balance and probably would be a problem if it tried to take off. Mechanical repair will tell you some more information if you'd like to roll that.
All right.
Beautiful. Just looking fly.
I've never been so favored by a die before.
Right?
This is a good day.
So yes, as you kind of look at it, you realize that mostly what is broken is the kind of wooden, kind of fiberglass. I don't think fiberglass is the, it's wooden at this point. The wooden kind of floats have been completely cracked, and short of like epoxy and a lot of like stuff that you need back at the thing, there's nothing you can do to fix what's there. That being said, with a little bit of ingenuity, you might be able to craft one or find a replacement somehow. There's wood. There's everything you need technically, and with that, it would take a while. But with the tools that you have, you might be able to rig something. Same with the metal frame. With a little bit of time and heat and some hammering, you can probably get that back in shape. It's not terribly out of whack, but enough that it would be a pretty substantial repair.
That's what I turned my mind to first. That's high on my priority of list to do.
Okay.
Yep, go
on. Hero informs you of a couple of different things. He informs you that, well, at least he can get Cat up in some fishing, because apparently he's a great fisherman. He's bragged about it. He gave a light brag about it. And the other thing he also noted is that we're currently at low tide. So there is potential to maybe move the plane at high tide, but not without doing some at least band-aid repairs before to get it out of the shelter and off the beach. That being said, everything else, you had a small wreck on a beach and you were attacked by something with claws. Multiple things with claws. Multiple heavy things with claws. And it was enough to drag Connor under. And, for all intents and purposes, Morgan knows he did everything in his power and more, and was in a great position to pull him out of the water normally. There was something that pulled him back in.
No, I'm going to turn to the pilot. We need to get away from the water, friend. Whatever happened last night could come back. How soon can we move the plane? I saw eye in the shoreline. These totem poles give me cause for concern, friend. I don't think we're alone here. We should do what we can not to make our presence felt.
He
at this point,
in response, he's like, totem. He nods at your acknowledgement of the totem poles. He's like, it's a small island though. We can search. Find if anybody here. Shouldn't take long. I can find shelter. You explore?
Agreed, my friend. Let us meet back here in a few hours.
Yeah. When the sun is high.
Agreed.
High tide. Around then. So, you've rudimentally agreed that he'll find some shelter and then meet back around noon at high tide and try to move the plane somehow.
Wherever direction he goes, I'll go the opposite direction.
So, as you kind of arrive, I have a lovely map here that, if you look at the stream, will have some spoilers for you, but nothing too major. But as you kind of begin your journey, we'll move this to the proper locations. Boop, there you go. And this as well. Okay. So blue is your plane.
Right.
That's where we're going to keep track of it. And for right now, it is beached right here.
It's...
Hero heads kind of off in this direction. If you can see my arrow.
Got it.
So if you want, you can head off in the other.
All right. Yep. I want to keep the beach in sight for the most part and orientate myself. You know, I don't want to go in towards the island and get lost.
Understandable. Just to kind of give you a sense of scale here, 1 square is 20 yards. So it's not the largest island. Even if you do get lost, you'll probably only be lost for a few hours. For like an hour or two, maybe.
Right.
So as you kind of move inland and up, you make your way into the jungle, which is fairly light. There's room to move in it. The brush isn't too dense, and you find that due to the recent rainfall, there's all sorts of pools of fresh water and whatnot. Birds kind of flying in and out, as well as insects kind of occasionally crawling around the ground, and find yourself having to avoid with the placement of your step. But that being said, from just here, you kind of get a sense that there's enough resources maybe to do fresh water and maybe hunt birds or something like that, just from this perspective, a surveying perspective. But as you kind of make your way up the extinct volcano, as it were, and make your way to the peak, you find a couple things, actually. Have the proper thing up here. The peak itself is a rock-strewn bowl, the crater of a long-extinct volcano that's been extinct for hundreds of years. And it's about 20, it's about 10 yards wide in circumference, kind of. And it goes about 20 feet deep, kind of dips down into the crater 20 feet. And flanked with 3, at the edge of the crater, there's 3 of these totems that you've seen before. These totems are about, extend over your head, they're about 8 feet tall. And as you kind of look at one of them, you notice that it has the base that looks like maybe the sun or fire. A man with bulging eyes and slits on the side of his face, holding fish. And then on the top, there's a raven with his wings spread wide. And all the totems, as you notice, have this same imagery. As you kind of make your way down into the crater of the extinct volcano, you find that the chimney, the hole which drops down into the proper volcano, the extinct volcano itself, is surrounded by old, rotten offerings. Bread, beads, flowers, old statues of large fish and men with octopi heads. It's very odd.
And are these offerings still in a state of decay, like in the last few weeks or so?
Yes,
Or
it looks
older?
like there's, from what you can tell, it's littered with layers of old offerings, and there are more modern offerings just stacked on top. On one of the edges of the crater, of the chimney, there is 4 raised stone brackets with a little bit of an abscess for something to sit in. And at the forefront nearest the chimney, there's a little cavity. If you want, you can roll me an idea or natural world. Possibly occult. Whatever's highest. Idea check is, just to let you know, constitutes an intelligence roll.
Oh, okay then. Yeah, I'll do that. It was bound to happen eventually, wouldn't it?
Fair enough. You scratch your head. You figure this has some purpose, but you can't put your finger on what it is. Might have something to do with this shrine. As you kind of take a step closer, you do see that there's, in kind of the mix, you didn't notice it at first, but there is one rotting head with flies buzzing around it. All sorts of larvae and stuff kind of crawling around in it.
I think it's just caution. Right now, it's caution. I'm looking around. I don't know what's going on, but I know enough to know that my main thing is there's people still around. Obviously, I'm trying to avoid detection.
There's no recent fires or anything. There's nothing to signify that anything's been here within the last week or so. Maybe in the last month, but not the last week.
And the offerings are relatively primitive, right?
Fairly, yes. The most sophisticated of them are little rock carvings of like giant fish and men with, an octopus for a face and that kind of shit.
I think fueled by my desire I feel a bit self-conscious. Hero's carrying a lot of the weight. He's done the fishing. He's getting the shelter. I feel the need to find something of value in order to pull my weight. So, spurned by this overrides my natural caution. I sort of head towards, take a closer look, see if there's anything in the area that I might be able to take back to use to get us off the island.
As far
I
as
head towards the offering and try and check the surrounding area.
As you kind of check the surrounding area, really the only thing that's left for you to check out here, without going out back into the jungle, is looking down into the chimney.
Let's give it a look cautiously. Cautiously, I want to creep over and just take a peek. I'm prepared to rabbit at the first sign of anything I don't like, but obviously some effort's been made to something around here, and I'm struggling to understand what it is. So just for curiosity's sake and the sake of anything that might help me know what we're in for, let's have a look.
As you kind of you notice that the rotting head, didn't pay much attention to it, look down into the thing. You see, it's very just, at this moment, dark. The light's not penetrating down deep enough for you to really see what's going on down there. But you can just hear something. Go ahead and give me a listen check.
Hey, Dive.
Damn. Okay. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, I should say, every successful check that you have for a skill, go ahead and make sure you check off the box next to it. So for like mechanical repair, and listen, yeah, that will keep track of it so that when we complete the story, we can do improvement checks. A little easy. So yeah, as you kind of listen in, you hear the typical like of a underground kind of grotto area. But occasionally, and it might be just a fish. It's hard to tell. It's completely dark black down there, but you hear the occasional splash, splash. Something jostling in the water down there. It's fairly large. Or maybe they are fairly large.
Alright, that's it. I can't go against caution any longer. It's time to back away. There's a rotten head, the Tritus on the ground, and the sound of something moving. Morgan and Indewo is about to give it a wide berth. Let's start moving towards the tree line. There may be stuff of value on the island, but I'm not trying to get it from here.
Okay. As you
I want to venture back into the jungle a little bit more. See what else there is to see. I'm also worried about daylight. And
you started this at like very early morning, so this has only been maybe an hour.
All right, I'm down to continue exploring. We're moving away.
Fair enough. As you kind of take a step away and begin to contemplate what you've seen, there is one thing, aside from the splashing, aside from the weird like stone, aside from the offerings, that kind of struck him funny. And obviously, yes, that severed head being there is obviously a bad thing, and leads to some recollection of terribleness. But that head, I know it's dead and severed, but it looked weird. It was distorted. But maybe that was just the decay. Who knows? Who knows? You didn't dwell on it. But maybe your brain subconsciously dwelled on it. That's why you're going to have to do a sanity check. But
I'm made of sterner stuff.
so you lose 1 point of sanity.
So just to check the question, so I know I've lost a couple of points of sanity. Where am I? Am I modifying the sanity value that we started off with?
Yes. Yes. So you'll take the sanity that the 90 and reduce it by 2 now. I think you've only lost 2. When we hit 5 sanity loss within one encounter, that can lead to fun stuff for me. But Indewo is made of sterner stuff, it seems.
It is stern stuff.
So yes, as you kind of wander about the island looking for, survival, things that you need for survival and stuff like that, you discover that a lot of the palm trees are actually coconut bearing. So that would provide you a little bit of nutrients, but also a source of water, a sustainable source of water, outside of just purified tablets and boiling, whatever you find on the ground. If things get real dire and the bird hunting doesn't go well and the fishing doesn't go well, it's not glamorous, it's not great, but there is enough insects on this island to subsist off of, if you're desperate. But that's more or less what you find. As far as the making shelters and stuff like that, there is, trees, palm leaves, and various branches that you could easily stock up on to build something makeshift. But I will go ahead and actually let you do... I guess it would be navigate or natural world. Not sure. Let's just do a luck check. Let's just do a luck check. So you'll go over to your luck and roll that.
I love these digital dice.
They are very kind to you. I've never seen them be so kind to somebody. You work something out with Roll20 beforehand, I see.
I'll say nothing. I'll say nothing, Roll20. Don't worry, I'll say nothing.
So yes, as you kind of wander the island, kind of getting your bearings of what's going on, you actually end up stumbling across a sea cave, kind of, that was developed in the volcanic rock. And if we drag you back over to the map, I will reveal what you have learned. Which is pretty much everything. Small island. There's a lot going on.
Nice.
There's that, and my lovely key at the bottom. So you discover a cave that should provide a great source, great shelter from the storms. It is kind of recessed in well enough so that you can even maybe do a fire inside and it not be seen from outside. And of course you can improve it with, whatever you want, but it seems like a decent place to settle down. It also has the added benefit of being able to keep an eye on both accessible beaches, as most of the other beaches are kind of either sheer cliffs of volcanic rock or too just rocky to land on safely. So from here, you could easily keep an eye on both beaches and partially what's going on the island from this one location, which is pretty handy. Around noon, you head back to the plain, and you find Hero has fully stationed up with his fishing pole, casting off from, he's casting off from as far inland as he possibly can while still being able to get a line out. You see, though, on a little line, he already has 3 fish. And they're pretty decent sizes. He smiles and waves to you as you come back, trudging back in from the jungle. And, oh, hello! I've been very successful! He kind of just smiles and beams at you for a second before kind of continuing to... Something snags on his line and he begins to pull it back in, pulling in the fish. Or what you hope is a fish. Nah, it's just a fish. So, now that it's high tide, you find that the plane is more or less just submerged in the water. It didn't really get any lift or anything.
There was just a drop in my connection.
Oh.
Just go back. If we just go back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Indewo comes out of the jungle. Heroes waving to him, saying what he caught, and that he really didn't learn much because he just kind of was fishing.
So he caught a decent amount, did you say, or not very much?
He's got 3 fish, and they're decent.
There you go. I'm used to being in prison. I could survive a day of a fish. Plus, we have rations. I want to tell the hero what I've seen. Give him sort of directions. A little bit. Simple. I'm just gonna literally be like, some strange stuff over there, my friend. Perhaps we should explore in a different direction. Maybe crack open a bit of rations, have a bite to eat, take a break with a view to diving back into the jungle after a successful meal and seeing what more we can make of the island before sundown. I'm also trying to look at fallen wood to
Collect for...
redo one of the supports.
Okay.
Material to repair the plane as well.
Okay.
So any trees that have felled, I'm on the lookout for, as well as strong vines and bindings.
Okay. Cool. So, I'm just going to kind of montage this a little bit. Over the course of the rest of the day, that's exactly what Indewo does. He goes back into the jungle, collects, any solid branches, solid vine that he can, anything that he can use as workable material. Is he bringing it back to the plane or back into the cave?
He's bringing it back to the cave because tide, right? Like the fear is that if it's not put into, well, depending on the time of day.
Yeah.
If you were about to set to repairs, the plane. If it's later towards the evening, the cave, because he doesn't want it to be lost at high tide.
Okay. We'll assume that he's like aiming for the cave because he's looking to turn in for the night and have them safe and stuff like that. So as he kind of like takes trips, gathering supplies, getting his bearings with the rest of the island. As far as like any inhabitants, you have not found any villages, any huts, anything resembling settlement. There has been no other activity on the island other than Hero and maybe what's going on in the ocean itself, but typical jungle things happening. But other than that, you're able to kind of get your stuff put into the cave. And as you kind of come back with probably the last load, and this is some of the heavier branches, one of the bigger like logs that you think that you might be able to fashion a float out of, if you kind of whittle it down a little bit. Worst case scenario, you kind of go to put it down in the cave, and the cave's overgrown and a little bit of with moss and vines and whatnot. And as you kind of place down, a little tired from all the endeavors of the past days, you kind of slump it a little too hard, and it begins to like roll and slide down into the cave. It's one of those moments where you just you're exhausted. You just got the stack of Tupperware up the stairs from the basement, and they fall back down the basement, and you just watch it happen. It's exactly that. You're just really okay. That's fine. It's going in there. I don't give a fuck. I'm tired.
Sort it out tomorrow.
Right. But with that, you kind of fuck it. And you look at the wall, and the vines that were there have been torn away, revealing a little bit of imagery on the cave walls that looks deliberate. Red and black paints.
Obviously, we're going to go over to the imagery. Well, we're going to go over to the imagery. We'll move a few more vines. Can we make out what from the imagery? Like, is it a series of events or? I'm trying to sleep in this cave, so I'm just trying to understand. Definitely, I'm feeling a bit more relaxed. There's not many signs of habitation, so I'm not. But I'm curious, just pure curiosity.
Yeah, as you kind of get this first glance, it looks fairly ancient, as far as you would understand. At least a couple 100 years old. And as you kind of pull away some of the vines, the picture becomes kind of clear. It depicts islanders, a ceremony of sorts, and a whirlpool at the end. Just kind of at first glance, this okay, odd, but as you kind of spark up the lantern, Hero is asleep. Somehow did not wake up with all that commotion that you just made with all that stuff. He's just completely tuckered out in the corner of the cave, just snoozing away. And you kind of pull the lantern over, get the Aziz light going, And at the beginning, you realize that the reason you're a little confused by it is that rather than displaying in a left to right kind of format, it's right to left. Odd, but whatever. And as you kind of look over to the right, you see that a fisher in a canoe, one of these islanders, lays with a fish thing at sea. From there, the fisher in that canoe brings the baby back to the island village. From that village, a young man emerges with a entourage of what looked like maybe the chief and some musicians. They all enter canoes and go to an island with a mountain. At the top of that mountain, the musicians play and this chief sings, and it's kind of, you can see the waves kind of depicted from their efforts. The young man, stands by the circle on a bit of a platform and begins to ascend from the group. And as that man ascends, over in the next depiction, becomes odd shaped, almost like a fish, and joins the whirlpool. Go ahead and roll me a sanity check.
Oh, sanity!
You lose nothing on that. So yes, just so you have it in your inventory, you now have ancient cave drawings and mysterious totems.
And just so I understand, what's the difference between the green and the purple die?
The green die rolls 1 die. The purple die rolls 3 dice to determine your normal, your hard, and your extreme rolls. I just prefer to do 1 die because it's makes no sense to roll 3. I mean,
No.
some people
To double
prefer
check
that.
I was pressing the right die. I didn't want anyone to think that Morgan had an advantage, you know. The 1 green die.
Yep, no, you're good. So yes, as you kind of read this, and how does Morgan handle his evening with this information? How does the rest of his evening play out?
This is in response to with the cave drawing.
Yeah.
It troubles him a little bit. We want to check. So there's only the one entrance and exit from the cave, as far as we're aware. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. It's rock face. You even checked after you kind of tore some of the vines down just to make sure.
Nice. Is it so? You know, not be bad at anything, but Morgan's a bit of a survivor. Is it possible for him to position himself so that Hero is between him and the cave entrance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Surreptitiously, though, quietly. We're not trying to alert anybody.
No, absolutely.
We ponder what we've seen in the cave drawings. The depiction does give us cause for concern that at some point, we associate it obviously with the island. We kind of fish people. We're not sort of literally taking it, but we're taking it as a. We do have a bit of superstition about us, and we're trying to understand what's not to be tampered with on the island, and trying to get off it.
Right.
We kind of want to hunker down in the cave, not because we're seriously worried about anything happening, but we're disturbed. We're disturbed. The island has been a bit more than we'd hoped for. The events of the previous night are overshadowing a lot, right? As the day goes on,
Right.
and we lost Connor. It's only Hero and myself, and there seems to be we want to be away from the water for sure. It's definitely troublesome. Really, there's a I want to say I don't want to say like a feral need, but it's like a knife in the back of the mind, being like, get off this island. You know, at that
Oh
point, and
yeah,
we're quite disquieted.
absolutely. So Indewo eventually falls asleep with these thoughts and kind of bouncing about his subconscious, and as he kind of manifests these into dreams, he finds himself at the peak of that mountain nearby, only a few hundred yards, like not even 100 yards away. No, about 100 yards away. And with that, he just imagines what individuals going through this would experience. He hears drums in the deep and a bit of an ominous tone. It's from below in the hole, he hears the swirling of a whirlpool and things with webbed fingers and claws reaching out and upwards. As the chant goes on and gets more and more intense, there is this tingling feeling that kind of shoots down from the crown of Indigo's head and jettisons down the back of his spine, causing a almost sparkle or shimmer effect in his nervous system as he begins to feel things move within him. Things realign. His bone structures begin to pop and realign themselves. His shoulders break and slender down as his neck snaps and bulges out. Go ahead and roll me a power check.
I love these die.
As this happens, you find yourself falling forward and almost into the hole, stopping yourself quickly. And as this whirlpool swirls up and floods up to the surface, you see in the reflection, instead of your face, the face of the rotting head next to the chimney. And with that, you wake up.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, okay. Sweating. Definitely looking around a bit wildly. You know, we're a survivor at heart, so we're shook, superstitious, cautionary. Definitely thrown. I think there's a little bit of retching going on, you know, that maybe doesn't result in an upchuck, but we're definitely
needs the
sure
caves for some air. Yeah. And as you kind of get up, leave, kind of in a swirl of your head still spinning and just a full-on, almost feverish feeling in you, making it out and out of the cave and retching a bit. You find Hero kind of standing on the other, like, was heading down to the, had just left and was heading down to the beach with his fishing pole, and he looks back and is, was that fish bad?
I think so, my friend. I think maybe it didn't agree with me because fish bad, my friend. Fish little bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll fish in other bay. Fish your bay. Dirty bay. He kind of points at the wood bay. He points at the. He kind of just like his thumbs up. Yeah.
That's and I'll leave. perhaps we fish together, yeah? No, I don't think after that dream, this is the time where I'd want to be alone. I'd probably just follow Hero, take a look back, make sure I haven't sort of grabbed, a stick and a fishing pole size stick if there's one. Maybe learn a few things from him. Sure. But right now I'm not trying to be alone. Not because I think something's nearby, but just after that dream, I'm awake now. I'm not going back to sleep.
Company sounds like a great thing right now. It's right on the money. So yeah, just to kind of keep things moving, you guys have a pretty decent day of fishing. It's weirdly relaxed. Probably one of the more relaxed days Indewo has had in probably months. Despite the looming totems around you, and despite the fuselage of your ship on the other shore kind of just slowly getting buried by sand, you have a nice kind of relaxing day. Just fishing, more or less. Getting a little bit of sun, relaxing, cooking up some fish on a fire on the beach. Everything's good. And even Hero says it's like maybe unnaturally good day of fishing. But he chops it up to probably the fact that the full moon is tonight and, the fish are a little bit more active. So as you guys kind of take your haul, knock out your fires, and head back to the cave for that evening, you find Indewo finds himself in a much better mental state. Still, of course, everything lingering, but he at least has a little bit of contrast now. It's not all bad. In fact, it's kind of nice, considering everything. So, kind of that evening, Hero and, that afternoon, I should say, Hero and they will kind of check out the plane and see what they can do. And because Hero's like, kind of points at the sand and the way it's kind of being washed up on top of the floats. And basically he mentions that he wants to try to move it if they can. Whatever they can do to kind of patch it up to get it to float. And hopefully during high tide they can at least get it off the beach. And it seems like there's a nice spot just across from where it is beached, next to like some rocks that they could probably put like a little, some palm leaves or something like that to keep it out of the elements until they're ready to work with it. He kind of scratches his head when it comes to actually knowing how to repair them, though, and kind of turns to you. Do you have any expertise? Suggestion?
I've worked on a ship for a few years, my friend. Let me take a look and see what I can do.
Go ahead and roll me a mechanical repair.
Come on, now die when I need you, now.
So, I will introduce this mechanic that is part of Call Cthulhu. There's two ways you can make this a success. There is, you get lucky, and the way that works mechanically is you spend luck to make that a success. So, in this case, what do we have? 73. You'd have to spend 23 luck to make that a success. That's a lot of luck. That's a
lot of luck.
But in the case of like something like you have a 53, that's not much. So that's a mechanic that's always available, except for in like combat and sanity. Those are the only two times. Well, no, I think combat works too. It's just sanity you can't use luck on. The other thing you can do is a mechanic called pushing a roll. So what pushing a roll basically is says, okay, my character has initially failed at something. That character will now up the ante, creating a chance of a second chance of succeeding and a more potential chance of critical failure. So, if say that you were repairing this, if you were to push the roll, and you would have to get a hard success, which means for your 50 you'd have to get a 25 on the die or less to succeed, but it halves your chance. And also, if you fail at that point, there is a consequence, whether that's a physical consequence of damage or something happening in the character or the story, whatever that is. But basically, it's up to the player to choose to double down on their risk, basically, with a push roll. So that's, again, you don't have to use this. I'm just educating you if you'd like to.
I think I'm going to stand up, roll my shoulders, and be like, this looks beyond my skills for now, my friend. Perhaps with some sleep and a little rest, I'll take another look tomorrow. And I'll leave it for now. You know, I consider myself not up to the task, and I'm happy not to push my luck here. You know.
Right.
We've had a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
We fished.
So, as this day kind of wraps up, and you guys make it up to your cave in the evening, maybe you've had your dinner and stuff. I assume maybe you would even turn in a little early. You know, after sundown. So, this next day, well, not this next day, but that evening, that night, Indewo was woken with a start for seemingly no reason. But he's in a sweat, and the hairs on the back of his neck has turned up. Feeling a little bit of nausea and that retch coming back, he goes outside the cave to get a little bit of fresh air. And in the light of the pale light of the full moon, he's able to make out a couple canoes silently drifting across the water, coming into the atoll and rounding around the island. Coming from the northwest. And rounding around the island counterclockwise.
I'm turning around. I wake Hero. Shh, my friend. See this here. We're not alone. And I take him out to point out the canoe. I tell him no more fires after dark. It does. And it doesn't look like they're coming this way, but we should be careful. We don't want to attract unwarranted attention.
What about the plane?
Perhaps we can get a little closer, my friend. See more numbers, but we must proceed with caution. We don't know how many people there are or where.
He agrees and begins just darting towards the plane.
I definitely proceed with it. We're getting down there together. Caution, I don't want to make too much noise.
As you kind of come down from your high vantage point, you see the canoes just rounding the north end of the island as you make your way down to the plain. As he makes it there a few seconds before you do and is inside. By the time you make it to the thing, he hands you out a nautical telescope. And says, "Yeah, we can't move. He kind of points at the thing. Leave! Leave! He points at the big palm leaves. Leaves, and he points at the plane. No?
I'm looking at the leaves, and I'm looking at the plane, and I'm looking at the nautical telescope, and it's the canoes that worry me, right? Am I able to use the telescope to see the canoes?
You can, if you just kind of ignore him and his franticness, you can just take that telescope and run back up the hill and check out.
No. I would obviously trying to tell me something important. Let's say palm leaves. I don't know, my friend. You need to be smart. What leaves in the plane? What?
He kind of points at his olive darb jacket.
Of course, my friend. A good idea. And I'll turn to the beach to go and gather some leaves to camouflage the plane.
Okay. He's like, as you do, he like grabs your bundle and like rushes over and begins just slapping like wet leaves onto the fucking plane as best he can, and doing his best. As he just kind of tears out like a bunch of bushes nearby. It looks a little haphazard, but he quickly, with the moisture of everything, is able to kind of stick them on, and it definitely looks like a plane covered in palm leaves.
At this point, it's high tide, right? So, but we're not able to shift the plane still, like it's firmly entrenched.
The waves have been rolling in over the thing, and because you weren't able to move it and you just kind of set it for another day, you didn't do anything to kind of readjust it or anything, so it's stuck at the moment unless you want to pull a full operation now.
Nah.
Cool.
Camouflage it and we're booking.
Cool. As you as he like gets enough leaves, he's like, go, kind of gives you the clear to leave. You dash back up to the cave, and at this point, the canoes are rounding the west, the west kind of peninsula here, and you don't see them at first until they kind of emerge from around this corner. On the canoes, you see 3 of them total. You see a total of 9 individuals that are in ceremonial garb of something, and then 1 that's in a large headdress. So a total of 10.
So, and they're still in the canoe, you said?
They're currently paddling to shore. With this, I think we'll take a quick break. Let you assess the situation, see what you want to do. I need to take a quick bio break, and we'll be back here in a few minutes. I'll leave you with some tunes, and we'll see you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Call of Cthulhu Occult Origins. We are continuing our story of Robinson Gruesome with our lovely player, Meggalox, who's just making all the best moves and all the best dice rolls. We return as a group of canoes begin to roll in on the sea into the small island that Hero and Morgan have found themselves on. We'll pick up as he spots what the GM mistook as 10 people as 9 people on the canoes, rolling in, 1 in what looks to be a more ostentatious regalia, as it were. As you kind of see the entourage coming in through the telescope that Hero had provided, what does Indewo do?
So I turn to Hero. I think we're a little exposed here, my friend. Perhaps if we move further into the island, we can hide more easily amongst the foliage. What do you think? I think we should give up our position here and take our chances in the forest.
He just kind of panting still from running up the hill, and he's like, um, yeah, oh, Indewo, go. I fall.
All right, so we'll grab our stuff. And I think the aim is really to plunge deeper into the foliage in the hopes of not being spotted.
Okay.
To avoid detection. Probably to circle around to the northeastern side of the volcano, hoping that will obscure our presence from the islanders arriving on the canoes.
Like I said, it is a light jungle, but it is still a jungle. Like, there is plenty of places to hide. So if you were to want to disappear, you probably could easily do so. But are you... One question I will ask. Are you trying to keep an eye on these individuals? Or are you just trying to hide and bury your head in the sand like an ostrich?
I think we are trying to hide and bury our head in the sand like an ostrich, because that is what
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, as you kind of head northwest a little bit, the coastline falls out of sight as you enter the brush of the forest, and in the darkness it's a little bit difficult. You didn't bring a lantern for obvious reasons.
I think, sorry, just to interject. So and currently we have a place where our vantage is quite good. You know, if the volcano offers us good vantage and good cover, we would head there. If our cover is good at the cave and we are confident of our chances of not detection, but right now we're trying to make it till dawn. If we can safely feel that we're ensconed and see the islanders, we would absolutely do that, right? Because knowing their position is key in allowing us to stay out the way. But should we feel threatened, we will just hunker down and hope that they don't see us.
Fair enough. So what you're saying is curiosity gets the better of Indewo again.
As long as we feel relatively safe. If we're on the volcano,
Yes. As long as it remains a voyeur experience, absolutely.
That's it. Keyhole style, straight keyhole style.
Absolutely. just straight crack in the wall. All right, beautiful. And as at first you kind of take a step to go down back into the jungle, and then this occurs to you, and you kind of stop Hero, and it's like, I'm going in. He kind of looks at you. You crazy. You crazy British man. And he goes just back into the cave. I'll be here. Go kill yourself.
All right. So yeah, I think it's important in this situation to ensure that the canoeists stay together. Do we still have a good view with our the nautical telescope you said we had, right?
Yeah, that was really just to get a look in real close to you could determine the figures. You can still, from like just naked eye, make out the figures coming over the coastline because of the moonlight. And from your position,
remain together, or
they remain in kind of in formation, and are currently actually about to disembark.
So our belly down, mud on like a little smear of dirt on the telescope. I don't want anything to flash off, well, I'm naked eyeing them, right? So yeah, I'll lay down on my belly as long as I feel I'm reasonably hidden, and I'll keep an eye on them.
One thing I did neglect to mention, they are the Hawaiian kind of South Pacific style canoes with the outrigger. Right. So they have the like little crossbars with the thing, so they're a little larger than normal. As they kind of pull in, two from each boat get out and begin to pull out poles and a bit of what looks to be a tarp of sorts, and begin to assemble this what looks to be maybe a platform, a stretcher maybe, or a palanquin, a makeshift one, kind of from things in their boat. 3 of them pull out musical instruments, placing them on the beach as they assemble these things, and the leader seems to conduct the individuals. As the palanquin is assembled and the drums, a large hollowed out woodwind instrument, and a couple other items are donned and carried. 4 men go to each side of the palanquin. 1 man kind of sitting atop of a kind of makeshift palanquin throne, and they are lifted up as the chief leads the procession, followed by the musicians, up a path up to the volcano crater.
A couple of questions. How many canoes are there?
3.
Would the canoe, would parts of the canoe expedite the repair of the plane?
Without a
Strangely
check,
enough.
you might think you might be able to rig something up with those outriggers.
The part of me is like, well, if somehow we were able to successfully scuttle a canoe, have everybody leave on the other 2, and then retrieve those parts for the plane, maybe the scenario brings forward like us fixing the plane, which is as curious as I am about the islanders. Still on my I'm looking at opportunism.
Absolutely. And while in theory these things all line up, there's something nagging at the back of Morgan's brain, and he is a very intelligent person. So he would actually be like, what is that nagging thing? And when he looked at that nagging thing and identified what that was, he'd realize that he has no idea how long this thing's going to take, and the repairs on this ship will require hours to do what he's trying to do. He hasn't even started the repairs.
Let's follow the islanders then.
Okay.
From a distance.
Absolutely.
Great
Like
distance.
like double Soviet spy distance. Yeah, like make sure like when they're going around into the alley, you're like just entering the street. Yeah, I know. Those kind of. No. So yes, absolutely. Go ahead and roll me a stealth roll.
Come up for myself.
Show up for your self. Oh shit! That's a 2.
There you. Caution is the better part of valor. The die favor my choice.
Mega's eyebrows every time he rolls good is just like killing me. Oh, all right. So, as you kind of hunker down and begin dipping in between the palm leaves and underbrush of the jungle foliage, you kind of are able to kind of line a little bit of the hill line kind of going up, keeping an eye on the procession, which has no problem letting you know where they are as they continue to play the music, their torches ensconced on the palanquin, and they make their way up. You will... maybe you won't. You will notice that nothing attacked them on the way in either. Just a anecdote. Anyway, as the procession kind of moves towards the crater, and the crater, they settle down in the crater. Oh, thank you so much. They kind of circle around the musicians taking their place parallel to the totems. And the chief taking a place at the head across from the plinths as the palanquins lowered and set into those raised brackets, stone brackets. They sit, and a young man sits on the chair as the ritual begins, or continues, really. As
From where I am,
yeah.
how am I able to see? Are there any sort of deformities around these people? Do they just look normal? I'm just sort of
Spot hidden.
say again.
Give me a spot hidden check, please.
Oh, I guess they do look normal then.
In the kind of flickering firelight, they look fairly normal. The only one who looks a little bit off is the portly kind of chieftain, who's a little thick in the neck and rounded, but other than that, more or less no major, octopus faces or anything. As you kind of take your place, nestled in a bush, kind of 2 palm leaves split apart for your peek hole, you are able to witness over the course of the next about an hour this man being honey poured over him by the ritualists, as well as wine and water, as well. The offerings are splayed out around the chimney of the volcano, as the chanting and drumming and stuff continues to build and echo on. After roughly 30 minutes of this kind of slowly ascending, something changes, and from the deep chamber you hear chant echoed from below. As you hear from even several yards away, the swirling of water from kind of creates a very odd acoustic phenomenon coming out of the small hole, as a whole torrent of water is presumably whirlpooling below. This continues on as the otherworldly chanting continues from below. The man begins to writhe, standing up unnaturally, as you hear his bones from your distance begin to pop and snap. He begins to scream as his face begins to contort and his mouth rips open at both sides, causing blood to spill down. The ritual continues to chant and escalate as you watch before you this man, over the course of the next 15 minutes, slowly morphing in front of your eyes, blood spitting as his skin is replaced by scales, and his neck bulges out and evens out with his shoulder as his bone structure changes and his rib cage moves up. Slits appear, first spitting out pus and blood. After this moment, it seems like it falls to the ground, coughing horribly, spitting up all manner of bile and awful fluids. As it begins to sputter out, it lashes out at one of the ritualists, who kind of takes a step back, but does its best to keep on chanting. The chief rolls around the outside, pulls out a large hooked blade. Well, it's a club with a hooked blade at the end of it, And as the monster rides on the platform, he chops in, pulls the blade away, the head rolls onto the ground. The ritual slows. The otherworldly chanting from below stops. And unceremoniously, the palanquin is lifted as the body is dumped into the hole. There is an odd murmur and disappointment in the air as the chieftain goes off crying and screaming in a somewhat frustrated rage as the ritualists pick up their instruments and palanquin and head back towards the canoes. The drumming continues slightly as it disappears off into the woods.
At this point, I'm shocked. I'm shaking. I'm not even trying to move right now. I'm trying to belly down and just not be spotted.
Two things I
I'm
need
gonna
from-
lie there in shock until I'm sure everybody's gone, and probably until dawn.
Okay. Two things I need from you. Sanity check.
Done.
And a intelligence roll.
Belly. You know what? The sanity. My sanity was going just sitting here listening to that. So I think Morgan's better than me.
Morgan loses 1 insanity. The implications of what this means and the connections haven't been realized yet. So that second one we'll just have to wait on until a little later. But 1 sanity lost as he just suppresses all his emotion about this moment and takes a nap.
Once, so proceeding that we're able to remain hidden until dawn's come and everybody left hours ago. Hopefully, we assume right when we feel it's safe to emerge. We're attempting to sort of make our way back, still very stunned and very shook, to the cave where Hero is located.
Absolutely.
And presuming we find him there safe, we're gonna recount the events slowly, in a way that we hope Hero can understand, but probably he's only going to catch X amount of what we're telling him. And right now, emphatically, we need to repair, my friend. We need to leave this place. Things are not right here. We must go now. And we want to renew our efforts. Whatever we need to do the next day to push on with the repairs to the plane, presuming it's still there, that's our focus.
Okay. So what I will have you do is another mechanical repair to just kind of symbolize the effort that Morgan makes, or Indewo makes. And then I want you to roll me a d10. This is a... what is it called? I forget the actual mechanic of it, but basically there's certain advantages and disadvantages you can get because you've already assessed the plane unsuccessfully, but assessed the damage and all that stuff. I'm giving you another roll that's a little higher chance of winning. So that d10 will be deducted from the total, so that makes that a excellent, a critical success. Extreme success. Naturally. What else will we expect from Indewo at this point?
To check the landing site, like to check where they disembarked, right? Let's check that the beach is clear right now. We want to know
as you even make it back to the cave and you look back, you see that the early in the morning that they have been long gone.
Part of me and I don't ask the motivation, but we part of us wants to examine. We're assuming the head rolled, or is the head at the location where that last rotten head was, and maybe we examine the site of the ritual. We want to, now that everybody's gone, just and no fish. Oh, one of the things we say to Hero: no more fish, my friend. No more fish.
No fish.
And
Fish good.
maybe we have a look around the site of the cautiously, but just knowledge is power.
Fair. So you go tell Hero the encounter, the endeavor, what happened, as best you can. You will hold that mechanical repair roll until you come back, and we'll say that you had you didn't want fish because that was all that was for breakfast, and you just need a break for a solid year. And you
Maybe it's time to start harvesting those coconuts we saw before that.
Absolutely. And you head to the peak to find evidence of what your eyes saw yesterday. Maybe you're just insane. You've been on that island for 3 days, living actually kind of a decent life. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is something happened. So you go back to the crater, and there wasn't a rain, luckily, so none of the evidence is washed away. But there, buzzing with some fresh flies, not quite gotten to completely by nature, is a fresh head. You see it kind of at a distance, and there's a little bit of a moment before. Are you sure you want to confirm or deny what you may or may not have saw? There's that thought, maybe. There's a moment here where you can make a choice. But knowing Indewo, he goes forward, swallows this down.
We believe everybody's left, and
Yeah,
we're deeply troubled, right? Evidence seems to say that we saw what we saw.
Sure.
But now in the light of day, right? Awake and knowing we're present. Maybe we try and take Hero with us if he's if he's amenable to it,
Sure. Yeah, he came with. He's like crazy British man. I don't know. And just kind of follows you because I don't think he's ever seen the crater. So you're just like, no, follow. So
take a look at this, bro.
Yeah. The dead kid, the kid finding the dead body in the wood and gets the stick. Gotta show it to your friends, right? Anyway, so he enters the crater, Hero flanking him, and the scene is there before him. Hero looks at it all, bewildered, somewhat perplexed. He kind of sees the head, and you see him and kind of stay back. Okay, I believe you.
I'm telling you, my friend, we need to leave this place. This is not right. It's crazy. We need to finish the repairs, my friend.
He nods in heavy agreement. And as you kind of take a few steps closer to subconsciously, you don't really even realize you're doing it almost. And curiosity gets the better of you. The head kind of faces away with long hair. gotta take your foot, roll it, and you can see that the cheekbone of one side has stretched out. The eye actually has, like, weirdly spliced into two pupils. Like was in the middle of, like, some kind of osmosis. And the neck, you see gills have formed into where the neck would be. The teeth themselves have become jagged and have broken off. Actually, you can kind of see on the other side that some of the human molars remain. But as it goes across, you can see that the teeth were actually split and splintered to create these jagged, nasty shark teeth, almost.
Time to leave. We've seen enough.
Hero, my friend, we've seen it. Let's go. Let's go.
Kicks it into the drink now. And as you kind of see this, go ahead and roll me a sanity check. He's just like, yeah, whatever.
More good. You're made of very stern stuff, bro. Very stern stuff. I wouldn't have done half as well in your situation.
So yeah, he'll lose one sanity for realizing that this thing was human at one point. And maybe even the mutation of it is what killed it. But anyway, let's put that out of mind and think about how we're going to get off this island. So, to kind of boil down the mechanics per roll that we had before, heading back to the plane, you know you can make a patch job with basically what you have available. You have some glue, you have palm leaves, and you can easily use some rocks and some of the sticks that you have to kind of create a bit of a jack situation, jack it up out of the sand, do your repairs, all that kind of stuff. So just take time. Probably just repairing them to get to a bandaged state would take a few days. Once that is there, you might be able to drift it off into a safe location to work on it. And from there, you need some solid wood to, like, rebuild these things. So that's kind of how that is. That's going to be a few weeks of whittling if you needed to do all that fun stuff to create new floats. As far as banging everything back in place, that can be done in a few days. Not too big deal. But this is a few weeks of work without the proper tools. You know, with the proper tools, it would be done in a few weeks, like a week, 10 days
Right.
maybe. Without them and in these conditions, you're looking at more like you're going to be here for at least 3 or 4 weeks. That being said, odds are highly in the favor that you will still be here by the time they come back. And you're not so sure that slapping leaves on it will do the trick next time. Especially if it's a repaired thing and there's evidence, you know, it's hard. It's harder and harder to hide the more repaired it is.
Are we able to... yeah.
So, few options probably come to mind. If you have something in mind that's beyond what I'm thinking here, obviously feel free to say, but I will say that you can repair the ship like you intend to. You can either make your own makeshift floats out of, you know, the driftwood and stuff that you find around here. That will take fucking forever, but you can do it. It'll take a while. Indewo saw those floats, I forget what I said it earlier. The canoes with the outriggers.
Yep.
Those, if you slap 2 of those together, that would fix 1, you know, and then you don't have to worry about 1. That could cut your repair time down. significantly. So there's this kind of like, I can do it by hand, but it'll still take a while. Or maybe there's a way you can kind of go on the offensive. Take those riggers for yourself next time they come. Do a kind of Home Alone thing on the island. Get paint cans and like punji sticks and shit. No, I'm just kidding. But like, not paint cans, but you know what I mean. You can kind of, you know, Rambo First Blood this.
9 versus 2 with traps. I don't know, it's still looking dire. The islanders that probably know it better than we do. Let's see. We're a smuggler. By normal. We move goods.
That being said, from a smuggler's point of view, maybe you can make what they call them. They specific name for them. But basically dugouts, little trenches, in areas where you could just like hit and run, hide. Let people go right over you because you're in a hole. That's, you know, those kind of things.
Hiding ourselves doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. My worry is for the plane. If we can't fix it before they come back, we would want to hide. Like, we would want to see if we could tow it, you know, move it, or that's kind of my. But it's a bloody plane. It's
right.
a plane.
And you might have to just stand and fight.
Yep. And so,
alternatively, there might be another way around this, but these are the obvious paths. If you can, you or more technically, Indewo can think of anything, you know, else. Feel free to try it. That being said, you have a month. We can
from the island, do we see land? Rather, just because based on the map, right?
On your tippy toes from the peak of the volcano, you do not see land anywhere beyond where you're at.
I think we're gonna have to set it up so that the plane is at least trapped. But we're not really a fighty person, you know. It's our smarts that we rely on. We're not confident. 9 versus 2 is not like a recipe that we really want to fry up.
Well,
so.
You did see how long the ritual took. You don't have to fight them, technically. You could just set the plane up to slap the right things on and get going, maybe.
Steal a canoe and then make the final repairs and try and sneak off while the ritual's ongoing. I like that plan, actually. I like that a lot. Yeah, because the first night wasn't possible because we still had to do work on the plane. But now we've done work on the plane. If we can, let's do that.
This is kind of how we're looking, kind of from a meta perspective. This is us looking at how Morgan's looking at how he's going to utilize the next month. So obviously, we've established that yes, he's still going to work on the plane. He's going to get that as close to done and ready to go as he's going to can. And I think with his mechanical repair, he's able to easily. With hero kind of fishing, you're have sustainable. If you choose to go to bugs, that's fine. An all insect diet, you know, because you're swearing off fish, that's fine.
Well, it's true. It is a month. It's rations and coconut month. Okay, we're throwing coconuts off cliffs.
Fair.
All right, yeah. So if we believe we're able to get the plane into a place where we can steal the bits from the canoe, the outriders, I think that's what I would look to do.
Okay. I don't know if Of Mice and Men is written yet, but the best laid plans often go awry. And if I know anything from my experience in tabletop, every player plan pretty much goes out the window at first contact. So if you would like, do you have anything as a backup plan in case if some roll goes terribly wrong, to fall back on?
If stealing a canoe fails, right, to finish the plane, there's not much margin for error because that's 9 people running us down, and us with like a canoe and a plane.
But yeah, questionably.
We could kind of trap the island. It's just not something I'm confident of doing based on our skill sets. I know if I was in that situation, I'm not thinking, let's build us a bunch of traps. Unless Heroes
like probably pitching. Yeah, Heroes probably pitching for like all sorts of like. I'm not sure if he would. I feel like he's like such a happy person, and then like him just being into like, guerrilla warfare would be perfectly appropriate. It's like, I know how to fish, I know how to fly, and I know how to fight the man.
All right, so let's say plan A, right? Because we were successful in hiding the plane and going undiscovered the first time. So that being said, we do believe that there's a chance that we can do it the second time, though, ideally we would want to be gone before then. Don't see how it's happening. That being said, if we're able to steal a canoe and get airborne in the time while they do the ritual, that's great. If not, I think we're gonna try. Yeah. There's nothing that sings to me of like, oh, this is what makes sense to do, right? Like it's steal a canoe.
Sure.
Wait, well,
you do have mechanical repair. You do have tools, so you can build contraptions, tools, weapons. If you even got a little bit, frisky with your inner scientist and your mad scientist, you could probably do something with maybe the flare pistol rounds.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but it's good for setting fire. Generally, I think the thing is big pieces of wood are sort of what we want in order to sort of
gotcha.
lift the plane out of the water enough, right? Like this is so we would ideally want to attach wood to lift the plane out of the water, and essentially once the plane is able to float for long enough, everything else is fine, right? Like we can take off. So our prime thing is if we can't get big enough pieces of wood from the island, based on the tools and the stuff that we have at our disposal, we would steal it from the canoe.
So
there is a scenario where we look at sort of using balloons to do so. I did think of trying to trap air in the seat cushions and see if that would be enough to lift out the water, but it seemed like a stretch.
That's a touch of a stretch. So the whole reason why that straight wood won't work for a direct one-to-one replacement for these things is because it's too damn heavy. That being said, you can easily use it to move it in high tide and like try to get it over, and it makes it easier, makes it so it doesn't sink. And the sand doesn't dig into the sand, and so it ends up kind of being like a platform that you'd be able to build. But that's like to get it out of its ditched position and get to working on it.
We're also quite fixated on the plane. Part of me is like, well, if they're using a canoe, could we not make a raft, right? And there must be a landmass nearby. But not knowing is sort of, I don't want to go blundering around a bunch of islanders who know the area a lot better. That just increases our chances of detection.
Right. That, and you're a sailor, not a like canoe team expert. Like doing that in the open sea is no joke.
So
yes, with this in mind, focus on repairs and trying to do the quick transition. Feeling that Indewo's got shrugs.
Oh, so 3 canoes, 2 hours. All we need to do is get down to the beach, steal 1 canoe, right? And then, so based off what I've seen of the canoes the last time and what I know of the repairs, do I have a reasonable assumption of how long it would take to use the canoe parts to repair the plane? Because my hope is perhaps we steal the canoe, but then attempt to go undetected and finish the repairs the next day, as opposed to try and steal the canoe and do the repairs that night and get away.
See, that, it took you and Hero, took you like 3 hours by yourself to search the entire island. So, if you steal their canoe, they'll search the island, or they'll look out in the ocean or whatever, but they'll probably find you eventually. As far as stealing what you need for the ship and then running, that might be plausible. You can hack the outriggers off and just just walk away with them. There's going to be 3 of them, so that should be enough to make one of the one that's the floater that's more damaged, completely replace that. And then if you need any reinforcement for the other one, you can latch that on. Won't be perfect, but it should be enough to at least get you in the air and get you into a more civilized part of the world.
When they go into the area of the sacrifice,
Yes.
right? Like, was it one entrance only? Do we ascertain if we cordon off that entrance somehow? Does that trap them all inside? It's a bit
No.
ambitious. No.
No, unfortunately.
It's
It's not like an
an
enclosed chamber. There's a path that kind of leads there, but they could, just like you found a way around it, they can easily just circumvent that path, head into the jungle, and go around it, or vice versa, head into the jungle and go around the obstruction. There's no real way of like, aha, unless you had a big like mousetrap that you could like.
I mean, maybe they're nice islanders apart from the sacrifice. Maybe if I asked them nicely, they would help repair
Yeah,
them.
absolutely. If this was 5e, go over and talk to them. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can just reason with them.
In this month that we've been there, slightly divergent question: have we continued to have more dreams? Like, are we plagued by, or did it only happen in the run up to their arrival, and then the last most of the month has been normal sleep?
I'll say that yeah, your sleep's been plagued, but you're not sure if it's like a natural, like supernatural type thing of visions, or if it's just subconscious nightmares of knowing there's something under this island and around this island that is a threat. At one point I would say kind of at a midpoint, Hero gets a little comfortable and like goes into the water.
No, that would, I mean, that
And
would
he-
set me off. I remember Morgan, friend. Remember Morgan. Stay out of the water.
Yeah, it's one of those days that you're like doing something else, and he tells you about the story of him going into the water and getting his feet wet, and he was fine up until like he started wading in there, and then he had to run out real quick. But they seemed to stop as soon as like he got onto the shore.
1 month. Leave or risk detection. This plane cannot be repaired within that time frame. And we're not able to take it to an area and better hide it? The plane? Doesn't look. It does, based on the map, it doesn't look.
Not a great place. The only place you got is kind of where, well, I guess the plane would have moved from here by now, but the plane has been moved into like a little bit more of the cove, so it's obstructed from seeing out from the outside. But if you were to look for it or walk by it, there's no kind of hiding it.
So we have to go through at least one more ritual. Resource offering. Yeah, no, I think the only thing really is to try and steal their canoes and get out of there, like before they catch us and spear us to death
Fair enough.
or offer us up to the whirlpool.
I will say that due to his penchant with mechanical repair, he's actually able to fix one of the floats. It's just the more badly damaged one. So that'll help it so that he only needs 2 outriggers, or an outrigger and some spit and elbow grease. I don't know. And hopefully that'll help expedite the repairs. You do have to remember that it's going to be undergoing a lot of force, so lashing it quickly and calling it a day might have negative consequences that aren't immediately foreseen when doing it. But that's just part of mechanical repair, right?
Wait. We can though in the month, like we can make strong vines and so like we would have. Is it possible that we would have a plan that just needs those last few parts, right?
Yeah.
And a reasonable time frame to get airborne.
It's the reasonable time frame is the it looks great on paper. You know, it's like, yeah, 2 hours, an hour, plenty of time to do this if everything goes right.
All right. Okay. This is the plan. We plan to steal the canoe and fix the plane. If it fails, we're setting up the cave area for last stand territory. We'll trap the area around the cave.
Okay.
We will flee there, and we will attempt to fend off any hostilities that ensue from stealing the islander's canoe.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Fair enough. So is there anything that Morgan would like to work on, practice in the process of kind of preparing for these?
Map making. We definitely want to be better at it. We want to work on securing the area so that if it's rushed by night people, we can at least fend them off, right? Because right now we just have a flare gun, some rocks, maybe we craft a couple of spears, but we definitely want to get better about trapping, secure. We're a military man, right? So hopefully we lean into our military expertise to be able to hunker down and defend the position.
Okay. So you establish, with that and with help of your mechanical background and a couple ideas from Hero, you're able to create these small little foot traps that just completely skewer a man's foot when they step on him. And you've, of course, made sure Hero, he's had a couple close calls, but you made sure Hero knows where they are. Took a little while. And you also have maybe one, Ewok style, log that swoops in with like a couple spikes on it that you might be able to utilize if you lure them into the right spot. This is kind of your plan A as far as, we had to fall back to the cave and now I'm trying to lure him away from Hero. This is your plan A. And then your plan B is simple dugouts, where basically they're just holes in the ground that can have like a little bit of water and some like supplies for you to hunker down for a little bit, maybe a knife or something to replace a weapon. But basically, as you're running, you can just slide into these things. They're reinforced with a couple of like sticks and like a palm leaf or something to cover them, so you have a quick spots. And there's a couple of those spread out throughout the area that you can use to quickly lose pursuers and create ambush scenarios and stuff like that. It's not much, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah. I hopefully we don't even have to use them.
Right.
We still recognize the fact that 2v9 is not. So it is definitely Plan B.
Right. As the weeks go by and the repairs on the floats. Well, one of the floats are done, and you are able to remove the other float, kind of get it propped up properly, ready for the outriggers to set in. From there, it's a few days before the full moon, and Hero suggests kind of setting up a bit of a plank situation where we can knock out the blocks from the platform and drop it right into the water. So that basically gets all the gears lubricated and things set for when they come. For the sake, do I have that? Oh, I didn't actually put the traps down. Dang.
I think as part of our plan,
Yes.
Hero stays with the plane.
Mm-hmm.
I steal the canoe. No. Have Hero come with me because we still need to hack it off and secure it before we start the plane. I was going to be like, start the plane. He saw me coming, but we probably need a bit more time than that. So.
Yeah, like in the best case scenarios, it's going to take like an hour. In worst case scenarios, it's going to take too much time. But as kind of the moments, kind of the day we're building towards that moment that of the full moon, that night of the full moon. Hero kind of, we're just having a typical meal, and he's in a particularly, maybe not good mood, but odd mood. And he kind of tells you to wait in the cave for a few minutes as he kind of runs out for a minute, leaving you alone. Fire crackling, and then after a few minutes he returns and got sake, and he kind of comes down. He's like, I found it. I was doing a bit of tinkering. The ship. He kind of like, you know him at this point. He's lying. He know he had it the whole time. But he's offering to you, so whatever. He offers you a glass, and he you do on your little makeshift table that you've made out of just a plank of dead wood. He sets up as best as he can with the limited things available to him. The best thing he can come up with a sake bomb, which is really just sake inside water. But hell, it works. And on the table, he's like, sake bomb! And the glasses drop, you drink them up, and kind of have a little bit of a moment of revelry. Kind of in the aftermath of this kind of, blowing the steam off moment, I heard what happened to these islands when the Germans came in. Rolled in, and it blasted and burned many villages. Curious if one of these was one of them. This is why.
I tell you, my friend, some things are best not dwelled on. Some things are not meant for us to understand. I think our best plan. There are places in the world where reality does not work the same. I think this is one of those places. Here, you can ask questions and have answers you may not agree with. And in those places, I like to stay clear. My family knows. Stay clear of such places. This island is a place where reality does not work like normal. We need to leave, my friend.
And there's wisdom in what you say, but if it's the opposite. The world is like this, underneath the veneer, flaky wallpaper of reality.
Sometimes you don't like the answers to questions you ask. Here, I don't like the answer to any question I might ask. We need to leave, my friend. Sometimes it's better not to look too closely into dark places.
You may be right. There's something to be gained from it. Insight.
My friend, I'll tell you this. I was in that prison for God knows how long. People living cheek to cheek, jaw to jaw, sleeping, smelling feces, sweat, blood, and tears. And they taught me that sometimes you must put survival first. We left, we were 4 people. Now it's just me. Sometimes we need to learn the lessons. We are already running a big risk to take a canoe, and I'm saving all my luck for that.
It's a good thing. Never had the much luck, but it seems with you I have a little bit more. Maybe you're rubbing off on me.
My friend, hopefully we rub on each other, eh?
He's there we are, and he kind of sticks his glass out and splashes more sake into the glasses, cheersing before he knocks the glass back, and looks kind of starstruck for a moment before kind of you even feel your head spinning a little bit because your tolerance is down. Let's be real.
That's fair. Well, a little bit of size of sake party. I'm happy to imbibe and just hopefully take a little of the tension. At this point, we're tense. The plan is risky. The chances of survival are 50-50. I don't know. We'd prefer another way, but so if the sake helps, I'm down. I'm down. Count me in.
Right. So the night passes. There is probably multiple nightmares you have that you keep waking up from, and a new nightmare is spawned on sleep of just how everything could go wrong. 9 tribal men running through the woods, Morgan fleeing in a panic. Morgan being stuck on that plinth, that platform, as the music and chanting goes on around him. Being forced down and falling into that deep hole and into water and to the whirlwind of terribleness and oddities that it may hold. It's not a restful night, to say the least. The day goes by dragging very slowly with the dread of what's about to happen. The final latches and preparations are made for both the repair and the rudimentary defenses that are set up. As the sun sets, Hero packs up all the dried fish that he has onto the plane, and his fishing rod and all his like the little accoutrements that are made in the cave, and leaves only things that can be used for defense or that are useful. This time a more kind of a proper camoed kind of screen is kind of just laid up against the plane, camouflaging it from any cursory glances its way. Darkness falls, and a few hours later, the canoes roll into the lagoon from the same location they did before. Seeing this, what does Morgan do?
We turn to Hero and say, "Keep your gun handy, my friend. We know the plan. Now is the time to execute. Hopefully, things go smoothly and we escape undetected. But if not, like we rehearsed, we know what to do."
He actually takes the gun and hands it to you.
Now we like our odds a little bit better.
It's not much, but that's all I can do. Oh, shit. Mike, GM Mike forgot something. Very crucial detail. Crap. Alright. Rewind a little bit. The day of the full moon. There is, in the distance, dark clouds rolling. The island has hit by a number of storms throughout the month. Obviously, it's a tropical area. So rain's not really anything you haven't been used to, but these clouds are a little more ominous as they flash lightning and whatnot. It's almost a similar scenario to when they first arrived at the island. Winds pick up, and by darkness, the full effect of the storm has rolled in. As Indewo begins sweating, realizing the implications, and Hero shakes his head at any real chance of taking off tonight. There's a little bit of dread of a missed opportunity that kind of sets in the stomach of Indewo. Worst case scenario, they find the plane, they dismembered it, and you're back to square one. Best case scenario, they do their ritual and you still have to hack up some logs or still have to fix this thing. You're still not going to get out of here right away. Weighing these options and kind of pondering this, you expect them to arrive around the same time they arrived last time, and keeping an eye out on the lagoon and the atoll around it. The hours pass, and through the wind and the rain, you see the swells of the ocean kind of begin to rise, and it becomes kind of clear that nothing's going to get through this storm tonight. Eventually, you drift off to sleep. Hero, long before, fell asleep in the cave. Upon the next day, you awake to find the beach littered with various debris and stuff. The plane camo prop has been blown away long before, leaving the plane just kind of exposed on its wooden platform. As you kind of look out onto the beach, you see not only debris, but what look to be figures. Odd. Go ahead and roll me a spot hidden. And of course, you still have the telescope if you'd like to use that, which will give you a bonus die. That's what it was. Bonus die.
So, if we use a bonus die, do we roll a spot hidden and then a die 10?
Yes. Yep. Okay, that would make that a 45. Right? Yeah. Do you want to spend 15 luck?
Yeah. Yeah.
As you kind of look out, you ever like drive down the road and like something's missing from your normal, like the billboard changed, or there's a new building, or there's no longer a building there. That kind of like absence of something. It's like you don't notice it right away, but it's that kind of feeling of, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I feel like there's something supposed to be here. You have that feeling when you look out on the beach. Oh, look.
Well, an adventure.
Hello.
Huh?
What's up?
We need to escape from an island. Hmm?
That's the exact same face you've been making at times in this session.
He does my expressions better than me.
So yes, there's a thing kind of missing along the beach that you can't quite put your finger on, but you do see not only the debris. You look and see a upturned canoe, maybe, and a couple figures on the beach crouched over on things.
So this is the kind of canoe we can use to effect repairs.
I'm giving you the naked eye from a distance.
Right. Okay.
Assumedly, you could. Yeah, it's very possible the outriggers are on the beach there, and you can easily just grab them up and slap them on.
And you said we're seeing people there, right? Like those figures are moving.
There are some moving figures for sure. As you kind of stand there and like, are those figures? You see one move and scamper off over to another.
I'd look to Hero and what do you think, my friend? What does Hero? Was Hero have any idea, like impressions about this scene, this vista?
Hero, as you kind of call him, will kind of come out of the cave and put on his glasses and out. Are those moving?
Looks like we have more guests, my friend.
Why are they hopping?
Perhaps we should go down and get a closer look.
Oh, no. He's a little unnerved, so he goes back into the cave and retrieves the telescope and hands it to you.
But since we've already failed that, look, I don't want to just take it again until we get a successful roll. I think perhaps we can stealth a bit closer.
Oh, my bad. I didn't know you used the telescope the first time. My bad. As you kind of stealth a little bit, stealth a little bit closer, getting into the brush a little bit, looking out over the beach, you see that indeed there is a couple of those canoes have washed up on shore. One of them is completely smashed. Another one, the outrigger, kind of is. You can kind of see the bracket, not the bracket, but the tie-on to the outrigger, kind of jettisoning out of the buried in the shallows of the shore. And then another one's just floated up onto the shore itself. So as long as you're able to get that one that's kind of buried in the sand a little bit, you have everything you need. The one downside to all this is that as you kind of come to the shore, you didn't see him right away, but you see a pallid-looking, bulging-eyed creature on the shore. And there's actually like two of them that seem to be going over corpses. You hear, even from this distance, you hear the odd, wet, slapping, gurgling sounds that they emit as they pull bits of crimson from.
I'd say to Hero, there's a good chance that those are the creatures that attacked us on the night where we were stranded here. My friend, I worry. Go on.
Sorry. Now that you're close enough, you do see that the totem poles that were on the shore have been knocked over due to the storm.
Oh, the totem poles. Are those totem poles, could they be used to rig one side of the plane?
They're made out of wood. Like they'd have the same problem as your platform.
Right. So how many creatures do we see hopping around, and how many of these? So two of these creatures that are rifling corpses, and then how many things hopping around?
Those are the two things hopping around.
So there's just the two creatures on the beach, and our prize.
Yes.
Hiro, my friend, this is our chance. More and more people are coming to the island. It's not a safe place. We need to take this now, even with those creatures there. I believe between us we can take them. Cover me. I'm going to try and get closer.
As you kind of say this, you hear a crunching pop as one of the creatures uses its one limb to hold it down and rips with one hand a whole arm out of a socket and begins gnawing on it.
Perhaps I spoke in haste.
And as you kind of say this, go ahead and give me a listen check.
Oh, listen, never lets me down. Never lets me down, son.
As you kind of hunker down and you kind of assess the situation, you hear kind of probably 20 yards, 30 yards down the coast in the brush, a deep guttural chanting. And the deep ones kind of perk up. The creatures kind of perk up, looking around. And as this kind of occurs, kind of stay hunkered down, you notice that a mist begins rolling in from the ocean, beginning to roll up the beach and moving in very unnaturally into the island.
At this point, I feel like I'm willing to take whatever chance. It's been over a month. People have come twice to the island. Now these creatures, the strange occurrences are unnerving, and the storms keep coming in. I'm looking for any chance, and this mist might be the cover that we need. Which is the mist is coming in from the west?
Yes. From the actual like coastline and the beach. It's almost like it's swirling off the ocean and then rolling into the land. Hero kind of like you hear him shift kind of nervously next to you. You hear that? Someone down there.
I don't think we can remain hidden here for much longer. Perhaps if we separate, you can distract the creatures, and I will try to remove the part that we need. Perhaps we can use the flare gun to set alight the jungle on the other side. That will draw the creatures, or perhaps frighten them away. Then I can take the canoe part, and we can retrieve it without even being noticed. Once the mist comes in.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a flare pistol. I'll do it. I'll go to north side of island. Shoot off. Rotate around. Should give you enough time.
You take the flare gun, friend. I'll take the firearm. That way, if I'm seen, I still have a chance.
Yes, absolutely. And he hands you the Nambu pistol that he has. I just gave you a handout, which is the gun itself. It gives you the stats if you'd like to pop them into the character sheet. While we move forward. As he kind of takes off, there's a few moments of bated breath, of waiting in bated breath in this bush. And this mist rolls in, almost chasing Hero. Like, it rolls in very quickly and sets in, creating a very dense mist where you can actually only hear the creatures in front of you feasting. After fog has taken over the whole island, the chanting stops. And from even in the mist, you can see just a dark silhouette moving through and onto the beachhead from the forest.
All right, is Hero still with me, or has he left?
He's left.
All right, okay, brilliant. All right, the dark silhouette you said was moving towards me?
Towards the beach.
The beach. And how close is it to the part that we need?
Means it seems to be beelining for it. For the canoe, at least.
How far away am I from the canoe?
Like 60 yards.
All right, I'm gonna hold my position and wait for the flare, for the distraction from Hero. This is it. This is our chance. A lot of trepidation, a lot of this sets in. I'm on tenterhooks. I'm terrified of what's on the beach, but the opportunity to get away is overriding even that fear. I'm gonna wait till I see a flare, an explosion, a fire from the other side, and then I'm gonna make a dash for the canoe. It's about to go down.
As you do your best to keep an eye on things, but with the way the mist is obscuring the vision, it's really just listening and keeping an eye on the way the silhouettes move in the shadow, in the mist. And from the figure that walked out of the jungle, you hear a "Conta, cinco de banalto," and instantly you hear the gurgling, the feeding. Stop. Then there's a moment of silence. The man, from what you can tell, continues. Dagon Zenaga. Dagon Zegalna. Dagon. And as he continues to kind of say this, you see the hunched over, hopping figures kind of stand up. And within the seconds, the moment of a breath, they dart in. You hear the across the sand as both of them, one goes low, one jumps almost through the air, and they both tackle and begin attacking the man in a gurgling, screaming fit. Shortly after that, as the screams stop, and there's the feeding again. For just a brief moment before, off in the distance, the mist fog glows red as a is heard in the distance and echoes across the island. This gets the creature's attention, and their silhouettes barrel off, gone in preternatural speed, off the beach and into the mist. Go ahead and roll me a sanity check.
I've been waiting for. I can't even. Even when they go for the guy, and I hear them attack him, I'm sprinting across the beach.
Roll me a sanity check.
Come on, don't fail me now, die. We're here. You found me now.
99? 99? Roll me a d6. As he stands up, going to take advantage of this, and hears the man crunching and dying right next to him. His feet don't move from where he's standing. He stood up and began to run, but the running never really worked. He just sat there in petrified fear as he imagined himself running.
Reasonable.
It's not until the of the flare gun goes off that he snaps it out of it and the things scamper off.
Okay, I'm gripped in terror at this point. Totally understood. I overestimated my abilities. I don't have what it takes to dart across the beach and throw myself into the canoe. So I'm terrified. I'm at the point of fleeing. Maybe I could stealthily make my way over, peeing myself and hoping.
Oh no! Don't worry about peeing yourself. You've already done that involuntarily. As you your feet kind of shakes as it finds muscle memory again. You kind of crouch down and stalk across.
Slither at this point. We're belly crawling towards the canoe in the hope that we're making no sound.
Fair.
And that will draw the creatures back and just nyom us. This is the last tentative. After this, we're giving up on the canoe entirely.
Fair. As you go over, go ahead and roll me a stealth check.
Stealth, if you don't come through for me, I'm gonna die out here. I'm just saying, die. Death. Come on, I said death. I said death. Roll 20, I said death.
As you kind of sneak across as best you can, you hear your feet hitting the sand, but you know it's not making that much noise. And you're kind of focused on where you remember the canoe and getting there as quickly as possible and as quietly as possible. In this, your head's darting back towards where the creatures disappeared off to into the red glow of the fog to the north. Back, forth, and you totally stumble, fall, and end up face first in sand with your body humped over something. As you kind of pick yourself up to correct, it is the corpse of the chieftain that's been completely eviscerated. Go ahead and roll me a sanity check.
Chieftain. Oh, now you want to succeed.
1. Well, no, you've seen shit like this before. It doesn't affect you. You're good. For now. As you kind of get up, put that out of your mind, it is a corpse, and continue trudging forward. You find the canoe in question, and the head of it's been smashed, cracked in half, but the outrigger on it is still good.
At this point, so it's not. We can't. It's not seaworthy. Like I can't sail away on it right now.
No, not this. Not the canoe.
Can I? Am I in a position to carry the outrigger? Like, is that feasible?
Not from a prone position. No, unfortunately. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, you can absolutely kind of hack off the reeds and pick the outrigger, transport it over to where you need to go.
It's the hacking bit that could say, all right, let's go for it. At the moment, at this point, I'm not even thinking straight. You know, and I'm hoping that the sound of the mist obscures the sound of my hacking somewhat, and I don't get ambushed trying to hack off this outrigger and flee with our prized possession.
Right? That would suck. Has you cut free this outrigger and kind of, it's a little awkward for one person, but you kind of get it balanced on your shoulder and begin walking it as quietly as you can muster back to the plane. You do so. Go ahead and roll me a dex check. Maybe it would be a strength check. It would be a strength check. We'll call it a strength check, but with a 14. So, yeah, you're able to cut it loose pretty simply, and then kind of heaving it onto your shoulder, you trudge back to the plane, drop it off a minute or two later. Just as Heroes kind of like sees you, streaks out of the woods. They're fast. They're very fast.
Start the plane, my friend. I will complete the repairs. We need to move. If they find us, we are done.
Yes. And he kind of, as he goes to crawl up into it, you hear him like grunt in pain. And he clambers in. You need one more outrigger, right?
Are you hurt, my friend? Reach for the
It's-
first aid kit.
It's
Got to
nothing.
heal yourself.
It's nothing. It's fine. You go get the other outrigger. I'll get this lash done.
I'll be back as soon as I can. Wish me luck.
Absolutely. And he kind of kisses his fist and good luck. And sends pops out of the plane and begins lashing the outrigger and getting it set up for the second one to be put in. As you head back to the beach to get the second one that's entrenched in the on the shore. Go ahead and roll me a listen check.
Before I set out,
Yes.
I do want to get the flare gun off him. I think I need it now more than he does.
He was not even. He put it down and you just grab it.
Oh, nice.
Um,
That's what I'm talking about, Di. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, come
As-
through for your boy.
as you head back out into the water and wade a little bit, you see that the outrigger is kind of under the water, buried in the sand, kind of entrenched. So you kind of have to go underneath a little bit, wade, take on some water, and physically dig it out of the sand. Go ahead and roll me a con check just to see how long you can hold your breath and do this. This is a matter of success or failure, but yeah, it is a success anyway. So as you dig, kind of yanking this out, you only have to go up for air once, which means that this only takes about 2 or 3 minutes to move out. And as you kind of get it loose, begin dragging it, your head breaches the surface. You drag it to the shore, and you hear the prop plane has kicked on. And on top of that, barely, but you make it out, is the odd coming through the forest of something fast moving through the jungle.
How close am I to the plane? Sorry, son.
You are 7 squares, 7 times 20, 140 yards. Give or take.
Until I actually see something, I'm gonna try and hustle with the outrigger to
Okay.
the craft to the aircraft.
One more strength roll.
Odd strength, my weakest stat.
Okay. As you kind of drag it, you hope that dragging it will allow you some semblance of speed, as it's very heavy. And as it kind of drags across the sand, you hear something. There's 2 things kind of going southeast. One thing diverted and seems like it's heading your way. The other thing continues to head southeast. As you see through the, go ahead and roll a spot hidden. You see something in the trees move, but you're not sure where. And you're not sure how close. But your heart's pounding as you continue to drag. You've only made it maybe 40 yards.
All right. Let's drop the outrigger, flip it, take cover behind it. One knee. Let's get our pistol out, and go into a defensive position where we're hunkering down.
Fair enough. As you drop the outrigger and flip it, and hunker down behind it, look into the trees, you wait for a moment or two as you hear a branches in the brush get fluttered and snaps as it barrels out through the of the jungle towards you and onto the beachhead. By the time it reaches outside and is actually like in visual range, it is making a beeline for you at breakneck speeds. It is pallid in front. The head seems to connect with the shoulders, and back. The head has a dorsal fin that spines up with teeth and bulging eyes as it screeches out of the forest and woods towards you. Go ahead and roll me a sanity roll. Roll me a d8. 3. Okay. Did you take the 4 off from before?
What, the 4 sanity?
Yes.
Yeah. 86 sanity is my level.
You had 2 sanity before, and then you took off another additional 4, so it should be 84 sanity, correct? Because you had 2 ticks early on, and then you had 1 that was 4, so that's 6 total, right? And then 3 on top of that. So, should be
81 now?
Yeah.
Alright, okay.
So yeah, it streaks out, and you get a full image of this fish-like human shark creature hybrid as it gurgles and flips towards you. In this moment, all the fear of this moment and all the implications of what it is just melt away, and it is just something coming at you, intent to hurt you.
With the effect of with the sanity, with the surprise, with the stress of the situation, some of my military training kicks in. I'm already hunkered down. I know I'm about to be beset by an enemy. I'm gonna start firing wildly, though.
Fanning the hammer.
Not with the precision that I would normally attribute to a cool, calm, collected person, but with the desperation of somebody who just doesn't want to get eaten.
Fair. There is a mechanic called Fan the Hammer, which basically gives you penalty dice on each one of the shots, making it kind of a panic shot way of doing it. Go ahead and give me 3 attack rolls, or with the gun.
Okay. Morgan, we're in a situation here, and you're not helping.
So, yeah, that doesn't help. So, Morgan panics, raises his pistol, levels it at his target, and fires off 3 shots that just streak by and go into the woods as it bridges the gap within those few moments and dives for Morgan. What does he do? Shoot, dodge, attack.
He attempts to dodge so that the outrigger is between the monster and himself.
Okay.
Attempted to, if possible, thrust it into the maw of this beast as it descends upon him. All thoughts of fighting out the window. It's survival now.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a dex check for the dodge.
finally.
Dodge
Don't
is
break this
successful.
right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a dodge roll. Sorry. This is a dodge roll. I hate to do that to
I'll
you.
take what I can get.
So that will be in skills, and it'll be half your dex. So
Oh, okay. All right, right. Okay.
that was the rub. So that being said, it's 42. Do you want to spend 10 luck on this?
Wait, so sorry. Did you still want me to do the dodge roll, or you wanted to go off the dex roll?
I was going to take the 52 that you rolled and just kind of roll with it so we don't slow things down. And I just apply that to the dodge.
I will absolutely spend luck.
Spend 10 luck.
Absolutely.
As you go to dodge, you actually stumble backwards over the outrigger and quickly tuck yourself in, and as it comes in, it actually overshoots and hits the outrigger itself, its teeth clenching into it. It quickly scrambles, as do you. What's your next move? It wants you.
I know I'm not getting away. We've just missed 3 shots with the pistol out of a total of 6. We've dodged. I feel like I'm torn. I scramble for either the pistol or the flare gun. But we don't have stats for the flare gun, do we? Alright, so I scramble to fire off more shots with the pistol. Empty the clip at this stage.
Alright, fair enough. As you kind of, still pistol in hand, you're able to keep a hold of it as you fell over. You level it, aiming up point blank at the monster creature. Go ahead and give me blam, blam, blam.
Seriously? It's just you just want me to die at this point.
Okay.
Want me to die.
Last time it didn't matter. This time it does. Because you're point blank, you'll gain a bonus die. And the way I rule Fan the Hammer is the first shot doesn't have a penalty. So technically, you have a bonus die on that first shot.
So roll again?
Roll a d10. And roll 4.
Alright, a d10. Okay.
That's a 1. There. As the gun aims up, point blank, shots are fired, missing the monster as it barrels down on you and takes a pound of flesh with a... As it reaches down and scratches across your torso, it leaves with plenty of crimson and a bit of flesh on its claws as it clambers over the outrigger and gets in a position to truly overtake you.
At this point, it's just panic. We're flailing. There's no thought process. The creature's on me. Death seems assured. I'm just battering it with my fists by now. And screaming.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a brawl.
Death, at this point, seems assured.
As this occurs, you hear from the other side a scream of a man. As this thing bears down, I shoot. I say. And as it goes in to grab you by the shoulder and biting down on you. It actually comes in right next to the outrigger, and you're able to just boom, smash his head against the outrigger, dazing it for a moment. What does Morgan do?
We grab the flare gun. Shove it into the creature's mouth at this point.
Shove it into its gill on the side?
Right into the gill. Right into the gill. Feral at this point. Feral. I'm going to try and pull the trigger and just try and live. We just want to live. We just want to live. Roll 20, okay?
Go ahead and give me just your pistol roll.
I don't even think I could hit the broadside of a barn with the pistol.
As you fire off, point blank, pressing it against the creature, the flare gun fires off. You feel it kick back into your hand and almost like bruises your palm. And with that, you see it sizzle. You smell the smell of cooked fish, and it and fumbles back from you, screaming and clutching at its neck. As you have a second to breathe, as it is barreled over in pain, clutching at its neck, writhing on the sand. What does Indewo do?
We are still 80 yards from the plane, right?
Yes.
I think with a I think at this point we know we can't flee. We just don't have the faith that we can make it 40 yards with the outrigger and the creature setting on us. It's fight or flight at this point. Either the creature goes down, giving us the window we need. We're not even thinking about the second creature at this stage, just how to survive this situation. Perhaps there's a possibility, even if we left the outrigger and ran to the plane, 80 yards is too much to cover. I feel like we lunge towards the creature. Bare-fisted at this point. Attempting to pummel it while it's in a stunned state.
Choke out. Are you going for... Okay. Go ahead. As you, how do I do this? It would be, yeah, unarmed fighting brawl.
It would be. Sorry, son. I didn't build this character to be a fighter, okay?
You're good. As, you dive on this thing and begin pummeling it as it's scratching for life, it lashes back out at you. Wildly. You feel some minor surface cuts, but nothing major, as it like just tries to break you away with its free hand. Still writhing in pain as you begin to beat it. Go ahead and continue. As you continue to lay punches into it, it will try to struggle out of your grasp and is unsuccessful. As just punch after punch, you feel your fist squelch into its odd flesh. One of its eyes gets dislodged with the force of your blows, and it's a few moments of continuous, rampant, fanatical pummeling of this monster in front of you that you realize it's not moving anymore. And you have knocked out many teeth. In fact, your knuckles are bloody with just going on just straight bone, basically. You feel that your left hand has definitely been broken through this process. But the adrenaline pumping, it doesn't matter.
Is there any sign of the second creature?
Not on you. As you look around, the fog is still pretty thick. It seems to be dissipating somewhat in the sun, but
We stumble back to the outrigger. To start dragging it back towards the plane. We're exhausted, but it's the only thing, it's the only way we can see through making it through the next 20 minutes is to just rig it to the plane and the engine is running. This is our shot.
as you I have this cool image in my head, but it might be somewhat heretical. But I'm going to use it anyway. Of just him with the outrigger draped over his shoulder, pulling it forward, just like some biblical imagery. And as he makes his way over to the other beach, he finds that there is two figures kind of intertwined amongst each other and blood pouring from every end. As you kind of approach, you see that Hero has taken a Tonto knife and done his best to defend himself, but has got quite messed up in the process. The creature draped over his legs. Did we lose? Through the encounters with the monster that you just fought and this, I need you to roll me another sanity check.
Get in. Get in.
Just one.
We're still with it, son. We're still sane.
Yes. Not even really taking heed of the creature. Not really giving a moment for Hero. Because in meta-wise, Indewo's mind has hit a point where he's somewhat snapped and is just mission-focused. Hero pants and breathes. You slump the creature off of him and help him into the cockpit. Now he's, even though he's bleeding more or less everywhere, you do your best to patch him up quickly. And in the wake of all this blood running off into the sea with each wave, you're able to meticulously lash the outrigger to the plane, knock the blocks out, and get it started. Almost completely absent-minded of what is surrounding you at this point, which are gargoyle-like creatures of fishmen standing like gargoyles around you as you knock the block off and casually, almost dismissive of their presence, get back into the plane. Hero, breathing, does his best to pull back on the stick and get you airborne as the island begins to disappear off into behind you into the mist and the clouds.
We're in the air, son. You made it. Come join. Come join.
as the plane drifts to its location, Hiro points out, pull up on the stick when you land. Plane will go down. Just drift into shore. Landing. It's a hard part, but you'll be fine, Indewo. You'll be fine.
Hang in there, my friend. You've earned your freedom. We made it. We're airborne. Do what you can. Focus on the next breath, and just the next breath.
He smiles a little bit. You were right. Fish. They're bad. And his death rattle echoes out. And the plane maintains its course fairly well. You have a shaky, more or less a crash when coming in. The riggers completely fuck up, but you make it into civilization and crash into a bay. The water floods in, and there's a certain apathy that's come over you as the glass breaks around you and water floods in. You black out and wake up in a field hospital.
We made it, son. We made it.
You know that you are AWOL. You know that you're probably wanted by the crown. But in this coastal Japanese village, you don't have much to worry about. Except for getting home, wherever that might be.
One
That-
problem at a time, my friend.
Indeed. So yes, that will conclude the scenario.
I didn't think we were gonna get off the island. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think Morgan was gonna make it. I was already writing the next character in my head.
I'm gonna
That
have
was
to
good.
I'm gonna have to pull some odd MacGuffin-y stuff with this dice. I'm like, nope, the dice took care of it. We're fine. We're perfectly fine. So, do you have any epilogue you'd like to add on here? We can obviously think about it later and kind of flesh that out into like the backstory of Morgan going forward. But if you have anything to add here,
I don't really, mostly because I thought it was a really good story and I really enjoyed it. And I think where he's ended up in this Japanese village, I don't just want to off the cuff it. You know, I'd rather, if we return to Morgan, I'd have a bit more of the sort of like, a bit more of a story there. But I feel like where we are now, waking up in this village, that's a good place to sort of
set it down.
leave it right there.
Yeah.
We survived, man. So many people died in that journey. That's a really good story. No,
Thank you.
We're just taking a breath. We're gonna lie in this bed.
Yeah,
And
just take a breath for the next 3 years or so, 4 years, and then we'll get back into it. And when you say
Give us
if
some
we're getting back
experience.
to Morgan, it's more of a when we're
So
getting back.
oh yeah.
Um,
yeah.
We do still plan on doing the full group up with every one we've done introductions with. So we only have one more to knock out. That is Garbo, and after that, we'll be getting.
We're looking
Yes.
forward to it. Looking forward to seeing that.
Absolutely.
That was a lot of fun.
No, thank you. Thank you for participating. It's been a great pleasure. You were incredible, honestly, and I have to thank you for letting me torture you on a remote South Pacific island for a few
Very
hours.
enjoyable. Very enjoyable. That was my first time with Roll20, and as a mechanism, I really enjoyed it. So, like, really
Yeah,
nice job setting
It's
it
a
up.
nice little system as long as it's set up properly. So, yeah, look forward to seeing your character in the future. But thank you for all those in chat and watching from home. Appreciate you. Check us out in the descriptions below for the YouTube video. And I'm Grinning Moon, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care.
Have a good one, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, son. Bye, bye.